Welcome. Happy New
Hello.
Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. We're live and we're here on StarTrekkin to talk the last 4 episodes of Prodigy, the last of the season. Teammate work makes the dream work. Hey. Teamwork makes the dream work.
So, anyways,
That's right, baby. Janeway with finger guns all over the place.
I would watch an entire show of Kate Mulgrew acting as a teenage boy. That was hilarious. If you recall the start of I was going to say Discovery, but of Prodigy. I was a bit reticent. I think I liked it. Like a lot of the dialogue around the first episodes were pretty negative, and I was comparatively pretty optimistic. But I still wasn't entirely on board. But
You were okay. You were okay with it, yeah.
But I've come to really love this show.
Yeah,
it thoroughly won me over.
Yeah, we just watched the finale today, and I said to Gary, and he agreed with me. I was like, other Star Trek shows other shows could honestly take notes from this finale. If Star Trek shows could have finales that are half as satisfying, as this finale was, just on every level.
My only complaint would be them splitting the 2 episodes.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot to put in those episodes. I watched them together, so that helped a little bit. But yeah, it would have been more irritating, definitely, to watch them like one after the other.
Yeah,
and to have that break. But like, just 4 really awesome episodes of the show, and just a really wonderful finale. Like, I have no complaints about the finale at all.
And we know we're getting a second season, but even if we weren't getting a second season, this wrapped it up so well that you would feel like you still had a complete thing.
Mm-hmm. It was just really nice. Like, just to really quickly go over like the whole arc, there was like the ghost in the machine had like kind of creepy, difficult betrayal kind of episode. Then there was an episode that had like funny moments. There was still like real stakes and like stress, but it was really funny. And Brett Gray got to be, Kate Mulgrew, which he did an exceptional job of, and I was very excited for him because I'm a big fan. And Kate Mulgrew got to play Dal and be an absolute goofball and fabulous.
Kate Mulgrew, you could tell she was loving playing like.
She was having so much fun.
Yeah, you could tell she was having a lot of fun with that role. She was so infectious for that one episode. I would have.
Yeah, just like more. That is me. I am Admiral Janeway. I'm Admiral Janeway. I can do this. And, like the way that she behaved, the way that Dal behaved as Janeway made it completely reasonable that, Janeway's crew would be like, Janeway has gone insane. That is the only explanation, or been taken over by an alien or something.
I mean, which technically was the case.
Yes, technically she had been taken over by an alien. This was the case, actually. And then the 2-parter just really wrapped up a lot of the things that had been playing out through the season. Really wonderful stuff, like a lot. We've said some of the Lower Decks finales have been dark. This was like lots of people died.
Ships got destroyed.
A parent died. A parental figure died, even though it was a hologram. I mean,
hologram Janeway died.
And like that we weren't sure, but that was the actual Defiant and the actual Enterprise E there.
So it was the actual Defiant, because I was wondering.
Yeah, Gary was like, that's like, he's like, that's the Defiant. And I was like, I'm not sure. Is it the Defiant? And he's like, it's a Defiant or Defiant class. But apparently it was the Defiant and the Enterprise E that showed up.
And yeah,
I'm like,
like
damn.
I had the same reaction to both. I was like, is that, I can't tell.
Yeah. And I saw the Defiant show up in the like the living construct too. I'm like, damn, really? So they asked the showrunners who was captaining them, and they're like, we can't tell you that, we don't.
Because if that might interfere with some other plan. Like Picard might bring Worf back as the captain of Defiant. You don't know. Well, I guess not. We know he's an ambassador, but
yeah. But that those were those two ships, and I'm like, damn,
yeah.
The Enterprise E was involved in
you don't want to reveal who's captaining them because it might interfere with some other plan further down the
but
road.
how much of Starfleet's fleet was just like that's a major incident that they just created in Starfleet history, where like, maybe like a fifth of the fleet is just like freaking decimated, right?
Yeah.
Like, wow, that was pretty amazing to watch.
I don't think a lot of ships were fully destroyed because they blew up the protostar. I guess it's a spoiler stream, but yeah, like I don't think a lot of ships were necessarily destroyed. A couple definitely were.
Yeah. No, well, it looked like there was a lot of like hulls and parts floating around. Maybe like less were destroyed because of like the Klingons, which was nice. Like, nice to see them floating around, flying around the birds of prey.
It's a minor nitpick, but it seems to me the Klingons are the least likely to have done what they did.
I don't know. They like glory and valor and crap that.
They do, but it's just how they approached it is not the most glorious way to approach it.
I wondered, I was saying to Gary when we were watching, I said, like, the one thing I think they might appreciate is Gwen spoke to them in their actual language.
Yeah.
And she's one of the only people who would ever do that. Like, she's one of the few people who can do that, like, in Starfleet at all. Gwen can speak to people in their language as opposed to using the universal translator. And I feel like especially Klingons would respect that. Would be like, true. Thank you for talking to me in my tongue and having the respect to learn my language. Right.
It's less that I don't think the Klingons would help. Mm-hmm. I think they would, especially that era of Klingon. It's more that I don't. It's that they threw themselves in front of fire instead of like
firing on something.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Well, they didn't have shields. I don't know. It's a weird thing.
It's a tiny nitpick. I don't want to get too much into it because I don't think it ultimately matters.
No, I mean, I think it's like.
And like we also saw Ferengi ship there, which surprised me.
Oh, interesting.
Because you watch it, if you don't see any Ferengis on the screens, but if you're paying attention to who shows up, there is at least one Ferengi ship jumps in.
Had Nog joined Starfleet by then?
Yeah, definitely. Because this is set after DS9, so Nog was already in Starfleet.
Well, they named there was a ship named after him in Discovery, by like thousands of years later. So obviously Nog makes some impression on the Federation, I think, and on Starfleet.
I think Discovery, if I'm correct, Discovery is set roughly 600 years after this.
I thought it was thousands. Because even so, I mean, a long time later, there's a USS Nog, right? Like, so that's...
I might be wrong on my math here, but I think TNG. So Discovery jumps 900 years in the future.
900.
I'm pretty sure TNG is set 300 years after TOS.
Yeah,
I might be wrong.
If Nog was just like some whatever dude, they name a shuttle after him, not a whole ship.
Yeah.
And not 900 years later, probably.
I mean, probably Nog brought his, like, I'm betting Nog ends up bringing the Ferengi into the Federation, which would be a notable, like, that'd be a get a ship named after you thing.
Yeah, I bet. I can see that. Maybe he's like an ambassador or something. So I have some stuff to say too about other DS9 people, but I will leave that till later on, so we don't get like too like all over the place with these. So we'll go back to episode 17, which is Ghost in the Machine, which was a really fun episode because it showed people's interests, which were some of which were predictable and some of which were less so. Um, so it's the synopsis is the crew uses the holodeck to simulate attempts to warn the Dauntless of the living construct, but continually fails. I think they were on their 37th attempt when we joined them in media res. They enjoy some ice cream before getting some rest. After noticing some irregularities as they're going about their business on the ship, the crew realizes they are still in the holodeck. They are then put through.
We didn't cover this episode.
No, we didn't. No. They are then put through some pre-programmed holodeck simulations. They start with Zero's kind of League of Detectives story in a creepy lighthouse.
Very
Jankum's. Yeah. Sorry?
I was just going to comment on like very like late 1800s like mystery ghost.
Yeah, a little Cthulhu-esque in some ways.
Yeah.
And I love how excited Zero is about it, to be honest. I'm like, he's so adorable. They're so adorable. I'm sorry. And then Jankum's street fighting simulation where he fights.
Someone fucking plays Shadowrun. Someone on the animation team plays
Shadowrun. Where it's like he just basically fights biker Tellurites that seem like Shadowrun like orcs, basically.
Like the way they're dressed, I'm like, this is just straight out of orcs from Shadowrun.
They're basically Shadowrun orcs. Yeah, it's hilarious. Like in an alley out of Shadowrun, a neon-soaked alley out of Shadowrun, basically. Like Gary played Shadowrun a lot, so like totally. And Earth Dawn, which is like OG Shadowrun of the past.
I know what Earth Dawn is. I've never played it, but
just for in the enlightenment of anyone watching. But Shadowrun is like cyberpunk with fantasy grafted to it. If you out there never played it,
it's probably the OG cyberpunk RPG. I think it predates Cyberpunk 2020.
I don't know. Mike Pondsmith made Cyberpunk pretty early on. I'm not sure if it does. I'd have to look it up. Anyway,
no big deal.
Zero. So Jankum's street fighting simulation, a jazz club program that is very reminiscent of both Data's programs and Dixon Hill. That is run by Murph, where Murph either sings or lip syncs, as pointed out by Zero, and dances, which he actually does. And an amalgam of Dallas Pirate Simulation and Rock Talk's virtual pet game, which is her virtual magical veterinarian game, which is like a veterinarian magical alien Pokemon.
Which we had a setup for, because the first hologram we see in the game or in the show isn't Zero's. It's actually one of her lost squid pet things,
like her sugar kiss or sugar smack, or it's the one. It's this smoochy little fuzzy alien. So Zero explains that they were trapped in the holodeck for a reason. So that's the actual mystery. And that they were trapped to continually keep them there, and that it was hologram Janeway that kept them there under a secret subroutine program by the living construct that would keep them busy while the protostar returned to Federation space. Hologram Janeway apologizes as the crew suddenly finds themselves face to face with the Dauntless and unable to control the protostar, because hologram Janeway also programmed the course to Federation space. So it was kind of fun to see
she's affected by the living construct as well.
Yeah, that's what it said in the thing. Hologram Janeway was acting under a secret subroutine programmed by the living construct. Yeah, the secret subroutines are to take it over to do the things that the construct wants it to do that are, if they try and act counter to what the construct wants, which is to take them to Federation space to go to Starfleet.
Mm-hmm.
So they were basically what caused them to be trapped in the holodeck is that they were finally saying at the beginning of the episode when they, continually fail, maybe we can't get to Starfleet and contact them before the construct connects to Starfleet and destroys all the ships. So maybe we should just give up. Maybe we shouldn't go anyway. And so that caused Janeway to trap them in the holodeck, make them think they were still on the ship.
Yeah.
And, program a course to Federation space without them. Even though Hologram Janeway doesn't remember any of this, is unaware of it completely, and when she finds out, is completely horrified.
Yeah.
As real Janeway would be.
Yeah, but I mean, because once again, she's not acting consciously. Her systems have been hijacked by the living construct.
Yeah, this actually reminded me of Babylon 5 plots with Psychor.
Yeah, I gotta rewatch Babylon 5. When are they releasing the HD collection in Canada, man?
I don't know, but it reminded me. I said first Talia. It reminded me, and then I was like, ooh, actually, it reminds me of Garibaldi. Because Talia was just a sleeper agent and her real personality was submerged. And when she was reawakened, she was all like, I'm an evil Psychor bitch and I don't care about any of you. But Garibaldi was actually a sleeper agent who didn't know what he was doing. It also reminded me of Boomer. Gary mentioned, I said Cylons, right? In BSG waking up.
See, Battlestar Galactica, I've never seen it at all.
Well, in the beginning, it's Sharon Valerie Boomer, who's played by a Canadian actress. In any case, she keeps waking up. In the initial one, she wakes up soaking wet in the weapons locker, basically, and there's charges missing, and she doesn't know why. She doesn't know what happens, and basically one of the water tanks explodes shortly after, and she's like, "Oh shit, was it me that blew it up? What does that mean? What's going on?" Mm-hmm. And it turns out shortly after that she's one of the Cylons.
Okay.
So she doesn't even know what she's doing, and slowly every once in a while her programming takes over and makes her do things that she doesn't even know she's doing or wants to do, because she's been placed on the ship specifically it's placed to do those things. It's
she's a Manchurian candidate.
Yeah, she is 100%, in many ways. Yeah, she's a Manchurian candidate, and that's kind of what they've done to Janeway, which is kind of horrible, because this is the last thing Janeway would ever want to do is betray Starfleet.
Yeah. I have my issues with her in Voyager, but yeah, she's always loyal to Starfleet to the core.
I mean, yeah. That it's a matter of whether that is the character or the writing. I guess it's the character because they wrote it. But she is loyal to Starfleet. That's the essential thing.
Yeah.
So, I thought that it was a really great episode to see them work together, as usual, but also to see all their different kind of holograms come together. I also love Dal and his pirate ship.
He would, right?
Yeah, I knew it as soon as I saw it. I was like, oh, of course. Dal's captain of a pirate ship.
Yep. Although, once again, that puts him at odds with Starfleet. But yeah, this is a good episode. I liked it a lot. I thought it was very charming. I sort of... I was enamored with the mystery of Zero specific. I kind of wish we got to see a little bit more of it. I think an escape room episode would have been a lot of fun, which I guess this technically still was. It was just a more complicated escape room.
I mean, one of my favorite parts was like Zero's like, oh, we follow the clues, and then Murph finds another clue, and Zero's like, no, we don't need to follow the clues anymore, and then Murph is like, what the, like yelling at him in his Murph language, and then Dal's immediately like, yeah, you said if we followed the clues we'd get out of here, and I'm like, does Dal understand Murph now, or is it just so clear that Murph was like so pissed off about
I think yeah,
you told me what to do and I did it.
It's more that Murph was just so telegraphed and why he was why they were angry. I don't know what Murph's pronouns are.
I think Murph is a he, but Murph was just like, what the hell? You told me to find the clues and we get out of here. It was really funny. I really have been enjoying Murph a great deal, especially now that I found out his secret dream is to be a jazz singer.
That was a good scene. I
don't know even what was going on there.
I did chalk the singing up to being lip sync. I don't think he was actually singing, but
he really wants to.
Yeah, I hope that they make Murph. I hope they get Murph to the point in like season 2 where Murph can talk.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Because I think Murph, when Murph was just like their slug pet, Murph not talking made sense. But now that Murph is clearly an ambulatory sentient entity that has like an internal life beyond a pet, I think they need to get him talking, because once again, like the universal translator should still be able to tell what he says.
Yeah.
So I hope in season 2 they have Murph start talking. I mean, even if they just do the I'm Groot thing where like only Dahl knows what he's saying or whatever.
Yeah, it's possible. Maybe Dahl can read his mind too.
Yeah, that's maybe not impossible. Actually,
maybe Dahl just read his mind when he was yelling.
Honestly, that's not impossible.
Yeah, because he could have just been projecting so strongly too that he was just so angry about it that he just like projected exactly what he was saying at the same time, and so Dahl could just read his mind at the same time. So who knows? I also enjoyed like Gwyn's hologram of her dad merging in and being the bartender, the kindly bartender, chatting with her.
Yeah, that's one thing we didn't really get a lot of. Was we didn't get Gwyn's hologram. We got like I said, we got that little bit of her dad, but that was about it.
Yeah, and it seemed nice that she got some advice, but yeah, there wasn't a lot of that time for that.
I mean, it's a large cast, and because there's like 6 characters, and like it's only a half hour, 20-minute show. So I get why they had to like cut her out and why like they had to combine. Like we really didn't get a lot of Rock Talk either. Like even Rock Talks, it just so happened that Rock Talks fantasy veterinarian center happened to just line up perfectly with a trope from pirate films, right?
Oh, and I mean, she saved the day again, which was kind of funny.
Yeah,
she managed to realize that, you know, if you feed the hugging sea creature, it will go away and stop trying to hug you.
Yeah. So and like, so I don't want to criticize the show. It's like I said, they have a limited time span in which to tell their story. So it just so happens that Gwyn and Rock Talk kind of got the short end of the stick, where we didn't get to see a lot of what their holodeck activities were like.
And it was a little less easy to integrate it into a mystery or kind of an action sequence, I think. Yeah. So, you know, because the point had to be, I think there had to be a mystery that like kept them busy, and there had to be something that extended their time, and then there had to be something that made it clear that the safety protocols were not on.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, more or less. Although I would have expected Jankum's holodeck activities be much grosser than that.
Yeah. He just wants to beat up some tall Tellurites that are mocking him.
Yeah.
That's all he wants to do. And eat ice cream when he feels sad. He's a very wholesome Tellurite. All he wants to do is beat up some tall Tellurite bikers that are mocking him for being short, feel better about himself, and eat a giant bowl of ice cream. Dal was most shocked by the fact that the ice cream hadn't been real. Also, that was quite amusing. The ship, the ice cream. How could the ice cream have betrayed him?
I mean, also, we're on the holodeck, but we don't realize we're on the holodeck. Is a classic Star Trek.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're, in a dream, but we don't realize we're in a dream. We're in a spell and we don't realize, et cetera, et cetera. Or, I mean, I think Riverdale does that all the time for sure.
Yeah, I can't speak for Riverdale. I don't watch it.
No,
I know you do. Although
Riverdale just does everything, so I'm sure they've done something.
And the way everyone I know who watches Riverdale talks about Riverdale is that it's anything goes, sort of balls to the wall. Like any plot is on the table.
Yes, exactly. That's one of the things. That's a good thing and a bad thing. I'm gonna just turn these around. I think I put them wrong. One moment. I always do that. RC. Yeah. See, it's always, I put the left ones on the right ear and the right ones on the left ear. I don't know if that actually matters, but it's more comfortable this way.
It does have...
Your audio is quite weird. Are you in Discord again?
Oh shit, that's right. I always forget that Discord fucks my audio up.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah, it pulls both. Really... like even if I'm not in a chat.
Yeah.
Even it pulls the mic. I always forget it does that.
I'm not sure why. I'm sure you could turn it off or something like that, but
yeah,
sure. It just makes it like really staticky and robot like.
Yeah, no, because what's happening is it splitting the signal between two different platforms. I just forget it does that. I know why it does it. Although it doesn't do it with Roll20 for some reason, so it seemed to be all it probably only have with
muted it.
StreamYards. Yeah, either not a big deal.
In any case, we can.
I do like this episode and how it gave us a little glimpse into everyone's sort of off-duty lives.
Yeah, exactly. Sort of what they do with their time.
Yeah. It taught us a lot about the characters, and it did it in a very I've talked about economical writing when it comes to Lower Decks before, but this is also a good example of really economical writing.
Well, I mean, I think we got less about we said we got less about Rock and Gwyn, but I think the things that we got the reason we got that also is because we knew those things, right?
Yeah.
So we Rock loves fluffy things.
Yeah.
Her holodeck experience is caring for fluffy things.
Yeah.
That's something we knew. Gwyn has daddy issues. That's not a surprise that she would have a hologram of her dad. But and it was only a little bit on the pirate ship, which is not surprising too, because we know Dal is insecure about captaining, so he wants to practice being a captain. But the Murph one was extended.
The Murph and Zero ones are the ones that tell us most about to be fair, Murph and Zero are also two of the most underdeveloped characters on the show.
And Zero, what defines Zero so far is their curiosity, right? They're always fascinated by new things, and so it's not surprising that kind of Zero would be ooh, I can do a mystery and that'll just keep my mind busy, just that'll be fun. It's not something serious or something I have to work on. It's just something to keep my mind sharp and something that's fun. It's I'm part of a secret society that, gets notes to investigate mysteries.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm a detective. Like, it's so adorable.
I mean,
That's one of the
so
things I love most about that character.
also right now I'm playing in a Vaesen tabletop game, and it screamed Vaesen, like it was right out of like the tabletop game I'm currently playing. I thought that was very funny.
Yeah, it reminded me of just like, yeah, just 1800 stories or boys' adventure tales or,
Mhm.
something like that. It was,
Anything Agatha Christie.
yeah, a little Agatha Christie. Like, I think if Zero found out about Agatha Christie, they would love Agatha Christie and the Hercule Poirot and like Miss Marple and like that Miss Marple. She's just, for a grandmother, she's a very like sharp detective. I'm very impressed by her, like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it was fun. Um, so the next episode was I think that was one of the best episodes of the season, honestly. Is called Mind Walk. Um, so the Protostar, under the Construct's control, heads for Federation space with the Dauntless close behind. Dal uses his nascent telepathic ability in conjunction with Zero to warn Admiral Janeway about the construct, but accidentally swaps bodies with her. And this is kind of important. This is the first time we return to the Dauntless, and Janeway has been captured by fake Essentia and the Definer and Dreadnought, and so she's been put in a closet, and actually Dal swapping bodies with her allows her to, well, Dal to wake up in her body and wake up and escape, and Janeway to be awake in Dal's body. Janeway in Dal's body learns the story of the Protostar's young crew. She repairs hologram Janeway and vows to help the team, though notes that Dal cannot join Starfleet because augments are outlawed.
The plot thread we're getting a lot in Star Trek right now, because that's also like Strange New Worlds is also running that plot.
Yeah, exactly.
Although they did allow, despite knowing she was an augment, they did allow what's her name? The security officer.
Singh?
Yeah, Singh. Lon. They did allow La'an to join despite knowing she was an augment. What the crime?
I don't know what the difference is there, but there's something to it. I think maybe, I don't know, maybe she was born, but Julian there. I'll get to Julian later.
Yeah, we'll hit there. There's a whole conversation we had about Star Trek and like their position on augments. I think it's an interesting dialogue.
Yeah. So Zero deduces a way to reverse the body swap. Dal and Janeway must touch hands outside of the ship. Well, basically, they need a conduit to facilitate the transfer. On Dauntless, Dal's attempt to pass as the Admiral aroused suspicion. That is putting it mildly. Dal does not pass as the Admiral at all. The Diviner releases Dal in Janeway's body from sickbay confinement for the kindness received, but affirms with his intent to destroy Starfleet. Janeway and Dal conduct their swamp in a spacewalk, completing their connection via phaser beam. Dal reunites with his friends, and the Protostar leaves warp to find a Federation armada awaiting them. Janeway awakens in her own body, but in the Dauntless brig. So this was pretty much hilarious.
I usually hate body swap episodes. So the fact that this one had me so entertained is saying a lot, because it's a trope I usually almost always dislike.
Oh man. I mean, it can be ridiculous, but Brett Gray was such a good, not only Kate Mulgrew, but Catherine Janeway. Like, just an excellent Catherine Janeway. Like, really, really good at, like, doing an impression of her without it being ridiculous. Like, sounding like that's what Janeway would sound like if she was in his body.
Yeah.
And then Kate Mulgrew was just hilarious as being Dal in Janeway's body and being exactly as freaked out as he would be. It was just really, really funny. And it made total sense. This was another time where I was like, no, totally. Like, you guys should communicate and it'll be fine, because on the Protostar end, they communicated and it makes sense that they would.
Yeah.
On, the Dauntless end, I mean, it makes sense that Dal was not going to be, hi, I'm Dal in Janeway's body, and expect them to believe him. And then, he couldn't pass it off. He couldn't pull it off either, as much as he tried.
I think this might be part of why I liked it more than a lot of body swap episodes, is because everyone's reaction to the body swap felt really real.
Yes, exactly. They're all like, something has happened to her. She's either lost it, or someone's taken her over, or she's got an alien. I don't know what, but we got to put her in sickbay or something.
Mm-hmm.
Because she is not Janeway. And Dal's like, no, totally Janeway. Teamwork makes the dream work.
We got
that was the best. It's spam.
Yep, that's exactly what it is.
Don't worry about it.
Promoting your channel. No, we're good. Yeah, no, that was like I said, finger gun Janeway is great.
Yeah, it was really hilarious. I really enjoyed it. Just I don't even like. Yeah, it was really wonderful.
And yeah, so anyways, it ends up with Janeway in the brig, which is the reasonable response to having Janeway's body be hijacked by a teenage boy.
Yeah, I mean, they do manage to swap bodies back. And
yeah,
I mean,
so that's the one thing. There was a very daring scene where they both have to merge the two ships' warp bubbles while they're attacking each other, so that Dal and Janeway can jump.
They have to merge the ship's warp bubbles first. The Dauntless has to merge the warp bubbles so they can keep up with the Protostar, and that allows them to Dal as Janeway to jump.
Yeah,
it's pretty. And Murph has to stretch Janeway as Dal out towards the ship while it's being, while Dal Janeway is being tractor beamed back.
Yeah, it's a good scene. It's a very good scene. It's very tense. It's gonna work out, although you actually don't. There is the possibility they could have done another episode of Body Swap. It's one of the things where it's probably going to work out, but you're never 100% sure because you don't know where they're going for the season finale. So it felt genuinely tense, and yeah, it was a good scene.
It felt tense also, just in it was funny, but also you didn't know if Dal was going to, Dal and Janeway's body was going to be able to do everything he needed to do to get Janeway, to get himself off of the Dauntless.
Well, and that's sort of what I mean, is when because there are some things, because it's a kid's show, there are some things that neither of them is going to die.
Mm-hmm.
That.
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't the show didn't try to build attention around that.
Mm-hmm.
The show built attention around the idea that maybe they won't touch and be able to switch back, and they'll have to be stuck in this for longer. And it worked. It worked there because there really was a sense that this might not work, and they'll be stuck in each other's body for longer with more shenanigans, and this could affect the season finale.
Yeah, I mean, just because it wasn't anything on the Protostars end, they were doing everything right. It was just that Dal was, by no fault of his own, I mean, completely unequipped to, pretend to be Janeway. Even though I was kind of thinking afterwards, I'm he's known hologram Janeway for a fair amount of time, but still he was just so freaked out by the situation he was
Well, and
incapable of like
also,
even doing any pretending, you know.
hologram Janeway is based off of Captain Janeway.
Hmm.
Captain Janeway is not Admiral Janeway.
I mean, yes, but I mean, he could have done a slightly better job if he wasn't just like internally screaming constantly.
Yes,
But you
absolutely.
know, I mean, yeah, he finger guns is not Janeway. But
No.
you know, he
Although
made
once again, that iteration of Janeway was so entertaining, I would watch an entire show of it.
I know it was hilarious. I would love to see Dal try to be Janeway for, you know, several episodes.
Yeah.
That would be
Well,
great.
once again, like the crew figures out something's wrong very quickly.
Oh
So
yeah. Oh yeah.
they don't tease it out where people are kind of like,
Oh
this is
no.
weird, but I'm just going to go with it. The crew's like almost instantly like, this is wrong.
Oh yeah. No, I thought that was great. Like they weren't messing around. They were like, that is not Catherine Janeway, and
Yeah.
immediately, which was fine because it wasn't, and it was pretty obvious. Like the difference, even how they animated, like they were animating Dal's facial expressions on Janeway's face, and they had Dal carry himself different with Janeway in his body.
Yeah.
And it was really nicely done. I just really enjoyed it. And again, I just like have to say both of them, like I'm sure they like recorded voices separately, but if I were Britt Gray, I would be very nervous about having a conversation as Janeway with Janeway, giving myself advice. That would be anxiety producing personally. But that was a beautiful scene too. I really like that. They did a few shots like that I was really impressed with, where they did like a pan around a person and they changed either the voice or the perspective. So when they panned around hologram Janeway, Dal turned into Janeway and her voice changed into Janeway's voice. So they were talking to each other.
That was a good scene and surprisingly abstract. I was surprised they did that.
I really enjoyed it. I really liked
I thought it
it.
was great. Like, I was like, wow, this is. I mean, it's not like Star Trek hasn't done that. When in episode TNG where Geordi goes into the uses his visor to go into the probe. When they show the probe walking around, they show Geordi. They don't show the probe flying around.
Yeah.
But so it's like they never do things like that. But it is unusual whenever they do, because you don't see that sort of stuff from Star Trek.
It's partially the animation because it doesn't cost as much, I'm sure, to do like two people talking to each other.
Yeah.
On, you know, like it's animated. But also I just like the conversation about like using that, let's make something out of this mess. And I'm like, I just like you, Catherine Janeway. I like how, you know, pragmatic and you know, you are, and how you're just like, no situation's too bad to get out of it and to do something about it. And, you know, that's kind of nice about that character, that they're always determined to like find a way and they don't give up. She doesn't give up. And that's kind of nice. And that's what I like about her. Like, and I like that she apologized to the kids too in this episode, actually.
Yeah, well, I mean, the whole time we've seen Janeway in this leading up to this episode, she has been mostly on the second she realizes that it's a bunch of kids, she's just like, oh shit, it's a bunch of kids.
Mm-hmm.
And she's been pretty universally on their side since then.
Yeah, but I like that she made a point of apologizing and saying, like, I've made a lot of assumptions about you, and I shouldn't have done that. Like, I've always kept an open mind. Like, that's been the point of, like, that's what I've done as a captain. That's what I've prided myself on doing. Yeah. And I jumped to conclusions about all of you, and I shouldn't have done that. Because, like, you know, she didn't say why, but because she was emotional.
Yeah.
And she said, I shouldn't have done that. And now that I know you, like, I understand, you know, how great you are and that you deserve a chance. And I thought that was great because it showed, on a kid's show, it shows kids that adults can apologize and say they're wrong.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important to show kids because, not all kids have adults in their lives that will apologize and
Yeah.
say, you know what, I fucked up.
Yeah.
And sometimes adults fuck up and they should say, you know what, I fucked up, I was wrong.
I mean, if you compare the show to Avatar, and Avatar is definitely the demographic, like the age range they're going for with this show.
Mm-hmm.
She really is the Uncle Iroh of the show.
Yeah, totally. I mean, she's much nicer sometimes than Uncle Iroh about things, but yes, she is. Yeah, she also drinks coffee and not tea. That was great. That's when they knew it wasn't Janeway. That's why the doctor knew it wasn't her.
Oh, right. You're right.
As your doctor, I'd order you to drink this coffee, and Dal drank it and spit it out and said, I don't know how she drinks this stuff. And the doctor
that is the moment that they knew that it wasn't.
That is not Catherine Janeway. She spit out coffee and said it was disgusting.
Yeah.
No. Catherine Janeway would never waste a cup of coffee. That's not our admiral. That is an imposter. A motherfucking imposter. 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. Good episode. Really enjoyed it. Like I said, I think we've exhausted. I think we can move on to the actual finale. But
yeah, totally.
Also,
and I mean, it was a good.
Although it did have consequences for the finale because this is why Janeway can't swoop in and save the day.
Mm-hmm. It was a good cliffhanger because I'm like, as soon as I saw her in the brig, like she woke up, I'm like, oh shit, she's gonna be in the brig. Gary's like, she's in the brig. And we saw her and they zoomed out. We're like, oh no, damn it, no. They're surrounded by Starfleet ships. The only person who can save them is in the brig, or save like all of Starfleet is in the brig. No.
Yep. So yeah,
the Vindicator is on the prowl. No. Everything's bad. So we move on to the last two episodes, which are part 1 and 2, called
they're really one cohesive episode.
So in the beginning of the episode, Admiral Janeway, the part 1, Admiral Janeway successfully persuades the guard to release her. And it's not just she persuades the guard to release her. I forget the names of the two planets, but the guard points out that she wants Janeway. She knows who Janeway is because Janeway lied to one planet's people about harboring refugees from another planet or another planet's people or another people on the ship. And Janeway is like, yes, I did. But, those were refugees and they were in danger and it was a long time ago. And the woman's like, I know, she's a security officer. And so she lets Janeway out and she says, I was one of those refugees on the ship. You're the only reason I'm alive today.
So, educated guess, this is the episode referencing the episode Counterpoints, which I have not seen. Just quick Googling, the Devore are the so she lied to
the Devore, right?
Yeah. I don't remember what the race this person was, but there's a
the race that the woman talked about that was something with a B. I forget what it was called, but basically the woman said that she was alive because of Janeway and gave her a communicator.
The Devore are the space Nazis that Voyager gets into later, past what I've seen, correct?
I'm not sure. I did not watch a ton of Voyager past season 1.
Okay,
Gary is the Voyager person.
Fair enough. Okay, I'm on Memory Alpha right now, and this seems to be the Devore were military xenophobic people largely that largely avoided other race. Yeah, I think these are the space Nazis that they get into. Red from That 70s Show was one of them.
Oh, I remember seeing him on there. And everybody's on Star Trek. Literally everybody.
Yeah. Anyways, that's who I'm pretty sure that's who she saved them from. I might be mistaken because, like I said, Voyager is the one Star Trek show I have not watched through in the entirety at least once. But yeah, either way, yeah. So she saved this person from presumably space Nazis, and so this person was like, "I trust you, I know you," and freed her.
Yeah. And so that was like, I thought that was really a really nice callback, and I thought it was really nice. I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that saying, for I know what kind of person you are, so I believe you. I believe what you're saying.
Yeah.
Basically, Janeway was telling her that if she wasn't able to tell everyone what was going on, what was happening outside was going to happen, like to all of the Starfleet ships. So, and also during this time, the crew of the Protostar is showing that they are like an excellent freaking crew. And all showing, Zero is showing some excellent flying, and they're just basically doing brilliant evasive maneuvers. Jankum is doing like amazing stuff in engineering, and Dal has pulled off a few like really cool moves throughout the whole thing. They basically like are weaving throughout the whole like freaking like armada of ships.
Yeah. Yeah, they're holding their
It's
own.
beautiful. Like there's a point where they do a thing where they like come up and like drop down. It's like the Millennium Falcon move that Ray does in like the first second trilogy kind of thing. So excuse me, that came out of nowhere. One moment. So really impressive flying from the Protostar crew, which I think should have, maybe that was part of the thing that really spoke for them for joining Starfleet as cadets. Who knows? I would have been like thumbs up anyway.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, we all knew that they were going to get in. There was no doubt.
yeah, in some way. So yeah, they managed to take back control of their vessel, basically zero hot wires. The Protostar somehow by pulling out some wires and plugging something in. And that's how they're managed to fly around. Essentia subdues everyone in the transporter room and her away team that she brings with her, and beams onto the Protostar with the Diviner and Dreadnought. Gwyn tells Dal about his Starfleet ineligibility after he awkwardly kisses her, and he vows to help the rest of the crew join. Dal and the others fight Dreadnought, but are defeated. Not easily defeated. It says easily defeated, but I don't think that's true. And are defeated.
Yeah, it's a struggle. Like they have because Dreadnought does subdue them all, and it's only after they're all subdued that they sort of use their wits to outsmart Dreadnought.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I think it's also the thing I noticed about that fight is Murph comes in at the end after Dreadnought has sort of beaten the rest of them down. And I feel like if Murph had come in with everyone else, there might have been more of a chance of beating Dreadnought.
Yeah.
Gwyn and Essentia fight on the bridge. Gwyn gains the upper hand, but is subdued by Dreadnought. Gwyn also and Essentia are fighting on the bridge because Essentia locks the Diviner in the chamber with the living construct, so she can actually kill Gwyn. Like, that is her stated intention, and says that the Diviner will forgive her later. So,
which will not happen.
No, which will pretty much not happen, but she's pretty sure it will. So Essentia is the Vindicator is not a nice person, but that's her name. The Diviner dies attempting to stop Essentia from killing Gwyn. Like he's wounded by his own weapon. Essentia activates the living construct, and the fleet begins destroying itself in a brutal sequence. Oh my god. Like it basically
Yeah.
there's like a huge burst
Like,
of red energy and all of the lights as the Starfleet ships turn red and then they start shooting each other.
yeah, we see. Like I said, it's unclear how bad the final damage is, but everything up to that point,
It reminded me of the Borg attack.
you do see ships get destroyed.
It reminded me of the Borg attack. It reminded me of Wolf
Yeah.
359. Like
Yeah.
literally. There are holes floating. Like it was like it's just like the most interesting thing I saw that was kind of cool about it was the living construct. You see the living construct in it, like a ship will target in it. It targets a ship, and one of the ships shoots that ship. Then it targets the ship and the other ship, and the phasers are like not just shooting them; they're like literally like carving through their hulls.
Yeah.
It's just, and then the universal translators break down. That was the other thing that I thought was really interesting too.
It's always interesting when Star Trek drops the universal translators. Like one of the better episodes of Discovery season 2 is when the universal translator goes down. Season 4 of Discovery was all about like, here's a species that can use chemically, and our universal
yeah. That was like, oh my god, like freaking people complain about Discovery, but like I love those episodes where it's like we have to science our way out of this, and like all of the sciences we need linguists, we need scientists, we need chemists, we need everybody on this.
So I mean I've been very critical of Discovery season 1 and 2, but I mostly like season 3. I love season 4. Season 4 of Discovery is
season 4 is like an argument for interdisciplinary studies, right? It's just basically like that end is like you can't do anything with any one discipline. You need everybody to work together and merge all of their disciplines and like put all your brains together and all your knowledge to make anything happen. I think that's really cool. Because you can't just be like, my science is the best science and I don't need anybody else's science and I don't need humanities, because those people, what are they doing? They're idiots, right? Like they're just making shit up. No, we don't. No one makes shit up, right? Like I think it's fascinating that like you can like merge people's knowledge into something bigger. And like that was one way that they showed that. Like you needed music and linguistics and biology and chemistry and like god knows what else. It was xenobiology, right? Like all those things had to go into solving that.
Yeah. So yeah, anyways, the universal translators go down, which once again, like always a great Star Trek trope.
Yeah, and I mean, they showed how dangerous that is in this episode just by showing Janeway telling her crew to have abandoned ship.
And yeah, no one understood.
Them just looking at her like, and because they didn't speak standard or whatever, and like, and I guess I'm like, it's interesting too that people wouldn't bother to learn.
I part of me thinks that there would be enough people who speak each other's languages that they eventually could have put that together, but it would have required like, because it's an Earth, it's ultimately it's a human ship, so most of the people on there would probably speak English, and you're going to get some half aliens. Like I think eventually logistically people would have figured out how to communicate if they weren't also under fire. But they just didn't have the time.
Yeah, but it's interesting. I mean, but I guess if you have universal translators everywhere, like there's not a lot of incentive.
Yeah, but like I think like someone who's half Vulcan and half human is probably going to speak English and Vulcan. Although once again, we don't know how many languages these other because once again, universal translators exist. Like Earth has how many languages?
Yeah, why would you speak English? You could speak like Spanish and Vulcan. Or how many dialects of Vulcan are there? Exactly, right? Like So
but I do suspect that they eventually would have figured it out, but they were also under fire.
Yeah.
So
Like
they didn't have
Uhura
time to
pointed
figure it
out, like how many dialects of like just like her country's language she spoke, like 30 or something like that. So
I think it was 30 languages she spoke in all. But yeah.
I think there was like, but a significant chunk of them were just from where she was from.
Yeah, because they were like, you speak what, 7 languages? She's like 30 actually.
Yeah, because like 20 of them are just from my country.
Yeah.
Or something like that. So yeah. So anyway, Gwyn Gwyn gets the upper hand, but is subdued by Dreadnought. The Diviner is fatally wounded, attempting to save his daughter. Sensei activates the weapon. Before he dies, the Diviner entreats Gwyn to unify their people. Gwyn sends out a distress signal, which is answered by several species. But basically, Gwyn has to send out the distress signal. They speak to Janeway and Dal, and Janeway can speak the same language along with Gwyn. And it's kind of cool because the universal translator breaking down on the protostar also allows them to it kind of is a throwback to Tars Lamora, where they couldn't talk to each other.
Yeah.
And that really frustrates Rock.
And because Gwyn's whole purpose on Tars Lamora was to because they didn't have a universal translator, so no one could speak each other, so no one could organize. But Gwyn had to know everyone's languages so she could still communicate and give out orders.
And she was the universal translator, and so Janeway says like, we don't have any way to communicate, and Gwyn is like, I'm your way to communicate. I will send out the distress calls.
I speak like 700 languages.
Yeah, so she's the one who speaks to the Klingon, and that's why I said, it might be really respectful. Like a Klingon might consider it super respectful to that Gwyn is able to actually communicate specifically in her language without having to rely on a translator. And so Gwyn is able to send out the distress call, and that is why they're able to get Federation allies to come in. The Gorn, which is like, really?
That struck me as weird.
I was like, okay.
That was more weird. We don't
what is going on? Decide what you're doing with Gorn, y'all. Like, come on.
Well, to be fair, we know absolutely nothing about the state of the Gorn in TNG era. Because the Gorn appear in Enterprise.
Oh yeah, we're in
and they appear in TOS. But as I said earlier, I'm pretty sure TNG era is 300 years later.
So we're in Strange New Worlds Gorn, so we don't know what the fuck.
So there's like 300. If I'm right, there's like 300 years.
So they're like, the Gorn are fine now. Yeah. They're fine at this point. The Gorn are fine. Don't worry about the Gorn.
Yeah.
Maybe there's rogue Gorn. There's rogue people eating Gorn, and there's normal Gorn. There's like maybe these are the redneck Gorn on Strange New Worlds. They're like the D-bags from Upcountry Gorn. Maybe they have D-bags from Upcountry Gorn and regular Gorn.
All right, give me 1 sec. Pretty sure this will have Gorn. Pretty sure Gorn are in this book. And this will be up to date TNG era stuff.
Sorry about this digression. We need to know if what kind of Gorn there are out there. My head country, my head canon, there are just some
the Romulans,
bags from Upcountry Gorn that like to eat people. They're like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Gorn.
Gorn hegemony.
Oh, all Jesus.
Right, it's got a 4-page entry on them, so obviously.
Okay, you know what? I don't know if we have time for this.
So it does say here. So the Gorn. This is the introduction. I'm just going to read the 2-paragraph introduction.
Okay.
The Gorn hegemony is the most remote, isolated power in the Beta Quadrant. The Gorn seldom interact. So they are still isolated in the TNG era.
Okay.
The Gorn seldom interact with other species and prefer to stay within their borders. As relations with warm-blooded species are often influenced by most mammals' inconsistent fear of reptiles. The few interactions between the hegemony and the quadrant's other powers have been marked by distrust and conflict. The Gorn are large, heavily muscular. Oh, this is just the description of what the Gorn look like.
Okay.
Is there anything else here that might be relevant?
Probably not.
We learn what we need to know, which is that the Gorn are still isolationists. So yeah, so it is weird that Gorn showed up.
I still have the head canon that there are D-bag from Upcountry Gorn that eat people. That's just what I've decided. We forgot. I was going to say.
Back to Letterkenny for 1 second. They quietly dropped a new season over Christmas. If you didn't see.
No, I haven't seen it yet. We're talking about Letterkenny. I knew that. I finally caught up. Okay. So I saw the breakdancing, which was very, very impressive. Yeah. So
this episode has an entire episode. This season has an entire episode dedicated to figuring out what the preacher's sexuality actually is.
Oh my lord! Glenn.
Yeah. Spoilers. They do not figure it out.
Of course not. Of course not. There's some excellent Star Trek references. Whoever people in Letterkenny definitely watch Star Trek because they talk about NASA, and there's a lot of Star Trek references, including references to the Delta Quadrant and the Alpha Quadrant, among other things. So that's kind of amusing. And talking about Roberta Bondar and what a badass Roberta Bondar is, which she is, but a very curt person. Anyways, we've gotten a long digression. Let's get back to this episode. Gwyn, distress signal, additional Federation. Oh yeah, because of course, so Federation ships are getting fired on. They realize Enterprise E shows up. They're like, what the hell? Why are there no more ships showing up? And you see the Enterprise E like, and I'm like, what the hell? What is that what the hell? It's a giant freaking ship. Is that the Titan? No, it's the Enterprise E. Oh my god. And they're like, why are there more ships showing up? And Hologram Janeway is like, well, because, you know, when Starfleet has an SOS protocol, you know, when ships are in distress, more ships are going to show up. So when those ships are in distress, more ships are going to show up. So that's just how it's going to work. So it's a big trap that's just going to keep going on because they're going to get infected and then everybody's going to die. They're like, great, we're just going to watch everyone die around us. And so that's where the episode ends. Before I forget, we forgot in the Mindwalk episode, Janeway mentions the time that she was a salamander.
Yes, that's right.
She does not mention mating with Tom Paris. She does mention turning into a salamander, however.
Now I want that meme.
She turned into a She's like, I turned into a salamander once. This should be easy. I'm like, haha. She mentioned the salamander. So,
all right, I'm sharing you a meme now.
Okay.
Because you can't. Whenever the salamander episode comes up, my brain instantly goes to this meme.
All right, let me just share the screen for a second here. So there you go.
Me too, catfish.
So yeah. Long ago, far away, they were salamanders.
That was a terrible episode, though. I haven't watched a lot of Voyager. I have seen that episode.
Well, I mean, kudos to them for mentioning the salamander episode because you know you gotta mention the episodes that are bad as well. Oh, also in this episode, hey, Admiral Jellicoe turns up again. Good old Velos Cohagen. He returns. So that's always nice to see. Nice to see Jellicoe return. I'm hoping more people show up. Like, I'm kind of wondering if like they're gonna go and get Chakotay if we see some Tom Paris or
I
Balana Torres turn
we're
up or something.
definitely going to see. We are definitely going to see more Chakotay.
Well, I mean, but are we going to see Tom Paris? Are we going to see Balana? Are we going to see somebody else turn up? Are we going to see
yeah,
some
that I
more
can't
Voyager people turn up on the hunt for Chakotay? This is kind of what I'm wondering at this point.
Yeah, that I can't comment on. We're definitely going to see Chakotay. Like, they've been teasing him all bloody season.
Oh yeah, for sure. So the first half of this episode was excellent. Like, I mean, it's super stressful, and it just so much of this is setting up to just look like there's no way out of it.
Well,
like,
and there were constant, like, you don't usually associate like because of the age demographic of the show, you sort of expect the conflicts not to have, serious consequences. This has fucking consequences. Like, so we're unclear how many ships get destroyed. Some definitely do.
So many. Like, it looks like a lot. Like a lot of ships. To me, it looked like a lot of them. But it was scary, and like, like I said, the translator going down. Like, some people may not have been able to communicate to people to like get off of their ships, which is like kind of terrifying, or to communicate orders to them appropriately. So I don't know, it went back up pretty quickly, but at least on the Protostar, I don't know if Janeway was able to circumvent it on all of the ships or just on the Protostar. In any case, it was like, I really liked it. Like, I liked how they were able to free themselves from like the crew after they fought Dreadnought. It required them working together, and it kind of showed like the Protostar crew, like Rock had to think of using his arm, his firearm, and then by doing that was able to free Murph, and then Murph was able to take the visor off of Zero, and then Zero was able to free, Doll, and by doing all of that, they were able to go and help out, which I thought was really great, like showing them all together and like pointing out again, like Doll was pointing out again that Rock is smart, which is always nice.
And that's also like, so that it is, none of them on their own could have taken Dreadnought, right? So it shows that like the only way they can beat him is through teamwork, right?
Yeah, and they keep underlining that with them, that like that's the best way for them to do anything, is for them to work together.
Yeah,
which is pretty cool. So in part 2, they figure out, well, Rock figures out actually that the best way they decide that the only way they can really stop the destruction of the entire Starfleet fleet and all of Starfleet is to destroy the living construct, and to do that they have to destroy the Protostar. And their concern is like, basically, if they blow up the proto drive, it's a huge explosion. But Rock, as usual, is brilliant and figures out that if they do it at exactly the same time as they jump, it will spread the explosion across space and time.
Yeah.
So,
I was gonna make fun of how scientifically implausible that is, but it's Star Trek. We don't actually come here for the science.
Apparently, that's less scientifically implausible than other things in this episode, according to what I've read. Apparently, the science is not so bad on that.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, so Toronto Star Trek Science Advisor makes a cameo in this episode as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Or sorry, the second half of this episode. She's the one who recommends that Rock Talk become a xenobiologist later on.
Oh, that's great.
That's the actual science advisor of the franchise.
That's great. I love that.
She was tweeting about how proud she was.
Oh, that's amazing. Like, helping people learn about science. I would be proud of that too. hey, did you know about this other type of science? Which I thought was great. I'm like, she wants to learn all the science. Give her all the science. Um, so the protostar only has manual control of the systems, meaning somebody has to stay behind. And, you know, Dahl immediately volunteers to do that, which I thought was pretty amazing. Like, he doesn't even take a beat. He just basically says, I'm the
Yeah.
captain, I'll stay behind on the ship.
Yeah.
And I think
ultimately, it's made very clear that Janeway had to be the one to do it. No one else could have.
Yeah, because she's the hologram and she says, I'm the hologram, I'll do it. But I mean, like, the fact that Dahl didn't even hesitate in doing that, and he's like something like 15. I mean, that's amazing. And I think that probably like spoke for a big part of the reason why he was allowed to join Starfleet.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure Janeway, when she found that out, like Admiral Janeway was probably like, this kid was ready to kill himself to save all of Starfleet.
Right.
You know, like, what more do you want?
After finding out he wouldn't be allowed.
After finding out he wouldn't be allowed to join as an augment, what more do you want from this kid?
Yeah.
Like, what more commitment can you ask for? Sorry. So Hollow Janeway sacrifices herself while the others escape on a hastily built shuttle that was made through the
3D printer.
The 3D printer, which is, they have a different name for it, but it's a 3D printer. And basically, Hollow Janeway said that, she could put herself on a chip, and she thought she would, but her program had become so massive by interacting with the kids, basically, that she was unable to transfer herself. So instead, she gives them a recorded message that is really beautiful and lovely.
Yeah.
And she has an amazing death, too.
Yeah. I have to say, I kind of, like, I wasn't surprised. She gets such an emotional send-off that I was like, this is a really emotional send-off for a character who just copied herself. So I knew something was wrong by the weight of that scene.
I think, it's well, no, they had showed that. They had showed it when she tried to copy herself.
Oh, maybe
they showed it.
I didn't realize the copying didn't work until the kids got the message, which was after her death.
Oh, when they showed it initially, when she tried to copy, it said like in its insufficient state.
Oh, interesting. I missed that.
Yeah, and she just lied to them.
The tip off to me was how somber her death was.
Yeah, she had said like it said insufficient space, and then she just gave him the chip anyway, and said goodbye to them, basically. So yeah. So the destruction, basically, she says, gives the order, go fast, and then the protostar explodes. But when it goes through, it creates a wormhole to a point 52 years in the future, which is the same point that the protostar, the protostar had originally went to, where Chakotay may still be alive on Vaunakot. And they get another distress call from him.
Yeah.
At the time. So they have this wormhole, and they're going on a mission. And Janeway, which I'm a little surprised at, but not totally, says, I want to go. Which I'm like, girl, you just were lost in the Delta Quadrant for how long? How long ago? And you want to go 52 years in the future where you could get trapped again? Okay. All right. Well, but I mean, it's Chakotay too. So, I mean, you should do it for any of the Voyager
crew. If it was anyone
crew.
other than Chakotay or Tuvok, I would like to see come back.
That'd be cool. I mean, any of the Voyager crew, I would think. Tuvok was
Tuvok was by no means my favorite character, but he has the best relationship. He was really close to Janeway. So I think that, sorry?
I was going to say, wasn't he in the alternate, Picard? Wasn't he an admiral or something like that?
Yeah.
He should be pretty high up in Starfleet at this point, too.
Yeah, but I don't like. I'd like to see him come back in some capacity, just because their relationship was so tight. I don't necessarily mean him going with her, but I would like to see him show up somewhere in the show. But yeah, I think like season 2 is definitely going to be all about rescuing Chakotay. That's clearly where this plot is going.
Yeah. So, like basically when the protostar blows up and the wormhole is created, that stops all the Starfleet ships from shooting each other, which is good. But a lot of them shot each other, which is bad because there are a lot of like the Dauntless is pretty busted up by the end of it. It looks like their its nacelles are gone, basically. So the crew the protostar are placed on trial, which I thought was a little harsh. As soon as they land in San Francisco, basically they throw them in front of like freaking judges.
Yeah, they just throw them in front of the tribunal.
Yeah, I'm like, come on, guys, give them a break.
They're literally minors, dude.
They're literally children. But with Admiral Janeway's advocacy, they are cleared of all charges. Now, this is where my Julian Bashir thing comes up, because I'm like, why wasn't Julian Bashir brought up? When they're like, he's an augment, he can't join. And I'm like, Julian Bashir. But then I thought, perhaps when the children went away and there was just the tribunal in jail, can we talk about Julian Bashir? If an augment is such a problem, should we be concerned about, the augment running the secret spy agency of Starfleet? Yeah. Perhaps Julian Bashir, we don't talk about, there is no record of anyone named Julian Bashir in Starfleet. Julian Bashir does not exist. Well, I don't know. I know about Julian. Everyone knows about Julian Bashir. Julian Bashir totally exists. No, there is no Julian Bashir. Well, if you're that concerned about augments, honestly, we should talk about the augment running Section 31, because that is a red flag. So maybe she just like talked a lot about Julian Bashir, and then they were like, yeah, sure, Dal can be involved.
And we were talking about Strange New Worlds, which granted is like several hundred years in the past, but and how like La'an is permitted to but number one is arrested. I think the reason why number one was arrested,
she lied, maybe
is the lie, is the fact that she kept it secret.
Well, La'an's a Noonien Singh too, and I guess if you're a Noonien Singh, you can do whatever the hell you want in Starfleet, apparently. Hi, Aaron. Aaron says that the landing in San Francisco Bay was an homage to the end of Star Trek 4. They were put on trial. And the trial was they were put on trial after saving Earth and crashing in the bay with a Klingon bird of prey. Yeah, they were.
I did grok that.
Oh, okay, cool. I didn't get that as much.
Because Star Trek 4 is my favorite. It's just the best.
They were totally put on trial after saving Earth, because basically, I don't think much of Earth would have been left if that kept going. I imagine that living construct would have kept blowing things up.
Well, yeah, they would have evaporated the oceans, and then the atmosphere would have gone.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like, I feel like the augment thing is like, augments are outlawed unless your name is Noonien Singh, or, we decide we're going to let an augment in.
I mean, Star Trek has always had these sort of inconsistencies. It's sort of like how, like, if you go back to TNG, it's sort of like how Worf was allowed to have his sash, but the Bajoran character in later seasons, I forget her name, she had to put off her earring. Pardon?
Ro Laren?
Yeah. Ensign Ro. But Ensign Ro wasn't allowed to wear her Bajoran earring until Riker sort of been like, "Oh, sorry for being a racist dick. Here's your earring back. You can wear it now."
Yeah, totally.
Arbitrarily.
Well, I mean, but that's the way things are. Like, things are really arbitrary about those sorts of things. Like with Julian, I mean, it was sort of like, well, the horses out of the barn right there, right? Like, what are we going to do about it? And also, I mean, at this point, I wonder if they're just like, well, we don't talk about Julian Bashir anymore. No one names Julian Bashir exists or ever like served on DS9, and
Also, it's very possible that Time Cop just showed up, be like, Julian Bashir has to stay in Enterprise, or has to stay in Starfleet. Can't explain why. It's just, I'm a Time Cop. He needs to be there. Do what I say. And everyone's just like, Time Cop says he stays, so I guess he stays.
Yeah, I was just like, sort of like, oh, an augment can't, he's an augment, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, can we talk about Julian Bashir?
Yeah.
Hello. He's allowed to be, can we not? Oh, okay. Section 31. Okay, I guess we don't talk about him anymore, right? Like, that's what I just be blackmailing people with that, I guess. Anyway, so the point is, Dal does get, whether it's Julian Bashir blackmail or something else, Janeway gets everyone into Starfleet. She can mentor them on their
own. Sort of.
They're Starfleet cadets. They're just on her ship.
So they're not. I think the way it goes is they're not cadets. They're like special probation under her supervision.
No, they're cadets. They're just under her supervision.
Well, but they're not going to the academy.
Formally joining Starfleet. She's mentoring on their ship.
Yeah. So they are definitely part of Starfleet, but they aren't cadets.
It says in this thing, although they are not permitted to formally join Starfleet, permission is granted for them, Janeway, to mentor them on her own ship.
Yes, that's the distinction I'm trying to get at. They're like civilian attaches or so, like the technicalities of it aren't made broadly clear, but they aren't technically part of Starfleet, so and therefore they aren't technically cadets.
It's weird because they said that, does that mean we're part of Starfleet? And I thought they said yeah, they are. So I don't know. It's kind of weird.
My interpretation of it was that they are special attaches.
My interpretation was they are not cadets. That was my interpretation. They are not Academy cadets.
So I put them in the same category as Nurse Chapel, because technically Nurse Chapel isn't Starfleet either.
I'm not sure. I just think that Aaron says they're entering a special training program to become non-commissioned warrant officers, similar to what O'Brien trained to be.
That's
basically a program to transition from civilian to crewman. Oh, great. Thank you so much for clarifying that.
You know what?
Because joining Starfleet Academy takes a long time and a lot of training. In a way, Janeway says, are you Starfleet? In a way. Okay. Yeah. She's breaking the news slowly.
Now that he mentions that, the Star Trek RPG gets into this as well, and the difference between the two.
Yeah, because O'Brien took some time, like he was just transporter chief for quite a number of years.
Yeah.
Which was non-com. And, there are a number of non-commissioned officers. We just don't usually see them because we're so often seeing bridge crew.
That's also Nurse Chapel. Nurse Chapel, who is also that sort of gray area.
Well, she's not non-com. She's not an officer at all. She's civilian.
Yeah.
So they're training to become non-commissioned officers. So they want to become military. Nurse Chapel isn't interested in becoming military. She's just fixing military boots, basically. But I mean, it's great because, it does make sense that it wouldn't be fair to let them become Starfleet Academy cadets right away because, Wesley, he served on the bridge of the Enterprise for over a year before he could even test to become part of Starfleet Academy. And he got in, but he probably got in partially because he served on the bridge of the flagship of Starfleet, right?
Good old nepotism.
Well, he has Picard writing a recommendation for him. Yeah, Wesley Crusher is great, and they're all like, oh, his
utopic pseudo-socialist future. Still nepotism.
Yeah, exactly. And his dad was an officer, and his mom's an officer, and all of these things. But these kids, they don't even have they haven't gone to school even.
Yeah.
Right? They were
literally slaves.
They're not
Vulcan of fucking mine.
And kids who go to Starfleet Academy went to Vulcan Science Academy and things like that, right? So I mean, I get it too. So it's kind of cool that it makes more sense that they'd be doing that sort of training, and then they become a crewman and maybe work their way up from there.
Yeah.
But however, Gwyn is not doing that because Gwyn doesn't know where her homeworld is and doesn't know anything about it, and so is doing what her father wanted her to do. And also her father is still out there, like somewhere in his 30s right now.
Yeah.
Young man.
I wonder, 'cause I mean, this is ultimately Gwyn's show. Like Dahl's the POV character. And Dahl definitely has character growth and character progression and character plot. But ultimately, I think Gwyn's the main character. So it'll be interesting to see what they do in season 2 with her. Because they're not going to let her go.
Oh no, I think Gwyn, and I think basically what's happening is the main group is going off with Janeway to look for Chakotay on the search for Chakotay, and Gwyn is going off to search for her homeworld and may have to meet up with her father.
Well, and those plots may very well intersect.
That's what I think is going to intersect. I think they're both like, her father is going to be like, we have to go forward in time to stop this from happening. That's the only way we can do this. Yeah. Like, because I see, I need to talk to myself or something like that.
Time travel, man.
Yeah.
Time travel.
Exactly. Or something. And basically, like, she's going to work with her dad in this time to stop that by going forward in time.
Mm-hmm.
And she's going to meet up with the rest of the group.
Yeah.
And that's great because it keeps John Noble around, which is kind of nice.
Yeah. And like, I had talked about like, oh, are they going to give him redemption arc? I found that I don't think it was a redemption arc. Dude was a fucking slaver. You can't just redeem a character. Like, I'm tired of lazy redemption arcs that like redeem like the worst people by being like, I died, therefore I'm good. Like the Star Wars, the fucking like Kylo Ren redemption. I fucking hate the. I just to digress. I fucking hate the Last Jedi. Like I'm tired of these simple redemptive arcs. Like it worked in the original Star Wars. I don't think the 70s it was as big of a trope. But like I think you're going to redeem someone who was literally a slaver. He has to do more than just die to save his daughter.
I don't think it was a redemption arc. I think it was less a redemption arc and more just this character staying true to its character.
Yeah, no, it felt natural, it felt organic, and like I don't know. I also don't know that it was meant to be redemptive either. But I know how the internet's going to talk about it, though.
I think it was an attempt to show growth. I don't think it was an attempt to show redemption. I think it was an attempt to show growth.
And I'm down for complex villains. Like he's a complex villain with complex motivations, and I'm interested in exploring that.
Like I
don't have a problem with him dying. It's more I am preemptively predicting rhetoric that may not exist. Although I'm quite certain it probably will and already does. And heading that off because I don't think like him dying for his daughter undid the fact that he was a fucking slaver.
No, probably not. I don't know if that exists or not, but I would not say that redeems what he did to.
You always get this. Every fandom has this, ends up having this conversation. It's always frustrating. Like I said, I haven't seen it yet, but I've seen it in so many other fandoms.
Mm-hmm. I think it was just. I think mostly it was. What he did was to being true to his character, which is like he could appreciate what Janeway did for him, and so he did something for her to make that even, and asked a favor of her, which was basically like, please protect my daughter if I don't get out of this, which may have been the reason he like freed her, was so he could ask something of her.
Oh, I'm certain that's why.
And so
100%.
that was a big part of it. And then also, him sacrificing himself for his daughter is like fairly makes sense because he made up for leaving her on that planet, for like going for like preferring trying to go for the ship instead of her and like the fantasy of the ship basically.
Yeah.
And preferring that over her and like saving her instead and showing that she was the most important thing to him. And so, I mean, like it was redemptive in that sense that he showed Gwyn that she was more important to him than anything else. And I think that's the only way you could say it's redemptive, really.
Yeah.
Is that Gwyn
Yeah,
now knows
I guess
that she means
it's redemptive
most
in
to
the
him.
sense, yeah, it's redemptive in the sense that there were two conflicts with him. There was his personal conflict with his daughter where like she felt he didn't care for her, that she was just a tool of his. And in that area it is redemptive in that respect. But it doesn't undo, once again, he was a fucking slaver.
No. I mean, it only resolves the conflict between him and his daughter, which is like now she knows that he loved her and that she was important to him.
Yeah.
She doesn't think he's a good person. Like,
but I guess,
and doesn't for she has never thought any of that, and she's always been clear about that too, which I always liked with like, with her friends. Like she had to come to terms with that and then be like, I'm sorry for what I did, and I don't appreciate what my father did. I'm not I'm supportive of that.
I mean, really, the show's been her. This has been her redemptive arc. Is really what all this has been, right? Because she was complicit in her father's slavery, and this is why I compare. This is a large part of why I compare the show to Avatar, is because just like Zuko had this sort of long plot arc that was basically Zuko's redemption for being complicit in a corrupt, dangerous, and damaging system, realizing that like he is his role in that system, and then trying to make amends for it. I think like you could argue that this is Gwyn, this whole show, and why I argue that she's the main character of the show is really the whole show is her redemptive arc, going from being complicit in her father being a slaver to being an emancipatory figure.
Yeah, and I mean, I think what she's doing now, like going to find her homeworld and deal with that, is really like her attempting to make up what her father has done as well. Like to try and make up for all of this like damage that he's done, and her being complicit in that to some extent, even if she didn't really know what was happening, like allowing that to happen. So, like to try and stop, her homeworld from being destroyed, but also to try and stop any further like, damage from happening from like that happening. So, yeah, it's interesting, and I think like her going and attempting to talk to the Vaunacat about the outside world before first contact happens, and does whatever it does to her culture, I think is important.
Yeah. So like, I mean, I think so like when we finished talking about Lower Decks, we're like, I have no idea where Lower Decks is going for season 4. But I think like season 2 of Prodigy is very clearly laid out.
Yeah.
Like,
and I just
where it's going.
Sorry. Yeah, and I just want to round up some of the things that we saw at the end that were really wonderful, like rock talk, like we talked about going and learning about all of the science and being told, asked you seem really great with Murph, would you like to learn xenobiology? Jankum showing off how his arm works with a hologram of like a schematic to all of the Starfleet engineers, and them being a little nervous about it, but then being really impressed by him. Zero and the Starfleet scientists all being equally hyped by building Zero a new encounter suit, which I loved.
Yeah. I did not care for the suit design itself, although it's very. Uh, I animation is hard, and building a
It's a little
model.
Apple iPod, but yeah.
Yeah, and building a model for like effectively 5 minutes of a sea is like, so you just want to. So I'm sure it probably. I suspect we'll get a different model in season 2.
But
Probably has his same beats, but a bit like better looking.
but Zero, like, it was a really sweet scene because all of the Starfleet scientists looked equally excited about the encounter suit as Zero did. Zero was like so hyped about having a new suit that he didn't like patch together himself in a sad way. And then we had a nice little scene at the end with Dahl and Gwyn, where Gwyn talked about showing, finding where Solum actually is, her homeworld. And it showed that even though he awkwardly kissed her at the wrong moment, they do actually have like feelings for each other. And I thought that was really nice.
I'm contradicted on it. It was a very, very nice scene. I'm just a bit over forced romances in shows like this, but yeah, I don't know how to feel on it because I did like it as a scene.
I didn't feel like it was forced. I feel like they've been really, really close throughout it and good friends, and I feel like there's something there.
I mean, I see it. I like it. I like the scene itself. I also kind of would have liked to just have them be close platonic friends.
I mean, that's fine, but I mean, at the same time, I can see the progression.
Oh, yeah, I absolutely see it. I think it's just such a common trope. I think I would like to have seen them go a different way with it.
I just don't know. I'm most curious why you said forced then, if it seems organic.
Forced, I think is the wrong word, but like it's a trope that is just such a common trope more than anything. Like it almost feels like they like sometimes it gets included just because that's just how these stories go. Not that it felt particularly inorganic. It's just these stories always end with a kiss between the male and female main protagonists, and that's just how these stories always end. And not because I felt either of them read particularly queer to me, because neither of them did.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would have been more interesting if they didn't do a romance than if they did.
I think one of the things that makes it a little bit different also is that they're not like she's leaving.
Yeah.
And we don't know what's going to happen, and there is nothing.
Fair. It does add tension to her leaving that I do like. This is probably why I did ultimately like it, despite being like a bit eye rolly.
I don't think romance is eye rolly. I mean, like just because it's a straight romance, is it always eye rolly to have a straight romance?
I mean, no, I don't like. I don't think it is, and I don't like. I don't want to be contentious about this. I think you're reading maybe a bit more into what I'm saying than I'm intending. It's just we've just seen this before. Is more my thing. And I think it would have been more interesting if they took their relationship in a different direction. And like I said, it's not that it doesn't feel inorganic. It absolutely feels organic. I've watched this show before. But you're right. The fact that she's leaving does give it a very different dynamic and does give it kind of a bittersweet quality that we don't normally see with this plot thread.
Well, I mean, he said, will we see each other again? And she's like, I hope so. I think we will, and we've made it this far. So, I mean, yeah, I think everybody will get back together again. I don't know if they'll be in the same place that they were before.
Yeah. But, that's the other thing is it does, like, I'm sure they're not done with her. And, like, she's definitely going to intersect with the main plot of season 2. But you're right, like, that plot might take them in very different ways. And then there's some drama to unpack there that I think could be very interesting.
Yeah, that's something that in the other show that Brett Gray was in that they explored a lot too, is like on our block, is like there's with teenagers, like a summer can change so much about a person, and they can grow a lot and change a lot, like physically, mentally, emotionally, and so many things can change, like between their interests and, like whether you want to be friends with someone, whether you're interested in someone anymore, or if you are interested in someone you weren't interested in before. So, I mean, it's really like a lot can change in a short period of time when like you're growing really quickly. So
Yeah.
it could be interesting in that way too. I mean, even if they got back together, there's always like some growing pain,
there'll be
tension.
complications, and
There's always like difficulties because like you're not the same person, and as like in that age you grow so quickly and change so much in such a short period of time. Something I didn't notice that I just saw in one of the recaps I was scrolling through is apparently there was an Enterpriseian from the All the World's a Stage episode where they at the computer console when Rock Talk walked into the science area. So I guess they're coming to join Starfleet now. The people who pretended to be part of Starfleet.
I mean, it makes sense. They've gone through First Contact.
Yeah, and Second Contact now. So that's really great because like their entire culture is, centered on Starfleet, and so now they're actually there. So I think that's really awesome. But yeah, as you said, science consultant Dr. Aaron McDonald was the Starfleet scientist who invited Rock Talk to become a xenobiologist.
Fortunately, Enterpriseian just gets me, Googling Enterpriseian just gets me shots at the Enterprise, which I'm not hugely shocked by.
They're Enterpriseians, I think.
Enterprise.
With a Z, I believe, in there.
Not that it's a big deal. If it doesn't come up, it doesn't come up. Oh yeah, there we go. I got it.
Yeah, and there was some speculation that the Voyager, the next season will be on the Voyager A, which is interesting.
Oh, so you think did they name the because so they were like the Protostar was a the Protostar
that's a Protostar class, but she said that she had bigger plans. Gary's speculation was actually that she was going to get a Dauntless class outfitted with a proto drive.
Okay, I'm wondering if they're going to call it the Prodigy. That's what I thought.
No, I think but there might be a Voyager A, because it would make sense if she was going 52 years into the future, she'd name it after the ship that she took into the Delta Quadrant.
That's fair.
Although it might be bad luck to do. I don't know, got lost, but that would be my argument. Are you sure you want to name it after the ship that you were lost in the Delta Quadrant for 4 years?
I mean, it'll be one or the other. It'll either be the Voyager or the Prodigy. Like, I don't see them going for any other names other than those two.
I think it's just named Prodigy because
that's
kind of what they are. Yeah.
But that doesn't mean they won't. That doesn't mean they won't shout the show name out in the by naming the ship that too, right? Like
yeah. They're going to start season 2 at Starfleet headquarters.
That makes sense.
That's
yeah. I've not done any reading on what's happening. Like anything, any theories I have are entirely inferred from how the show ends.
This is just me scrolling through a few things, and they haven't really said anything much about it. And it's not a Starfleet Academy series, obviously, because they're not at Starfleet Academy. So
yeah. Well, also, if that Starfleet Academy series does come, it's a logical place for Star Trek to go. Like Starfleet Academy is a big part of Star Trek that has never really been explored outside of the Nog comic, which is probably not continuity anymore.
I would see
read that though.
I see a Starfleet Academy series only happening in the future with Tilly as sort of the lead instructor situation. That's where I would see that happening more likely.
Like I said, there was a Marvel comic set in Starfleet Academy that starred Nog as the main character. I did read that as a teen, because I'm a huge comic nerd. Although I don't think Marvel house style does not serve Star Trek well.
Yeah. No, I think it's most likely, like I said, most likely I would think that they would go with Tilly, since they've shown, that she's teaching at Starfleet Academy, right?
It is the logical next place, and we still don't know. We also still have no idea what's happening with Section 31 if that show's going forward. They're still saying it is. Like
there's still
coming. We haven't.
Well, there's been, like I said, like we talked about it a while back. There's been rumblings, like they just had this augment plot. They did not mention Julian, which is interesting. You would think he would come up.
Well,
but maybe there's a reason for not mentioning him.
They have said Picard will have DS9 characters in it.
No, but there's been rumblings. Did I not tell you? Did we not talk about this last time? Maybe not. Julian Bashir is rumored to be in the Section 31 series as the head of Section 31.
This is the first I'm hearing this.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
But there was a pitch initially a while back of a Section 31 series with Julian Bashir as the head of that. I think it was pitched for a comic, maybe.
Okay. Well, like I said, I'm a bit out of touch with the Star Trek comics. The only Star Trek comic I've really read is the Nog-led Starfleet Academy comic. That's the only one I really.
It was a pitch for a comic. It wasn't a comic, so I mean, it didn't happen. But
now that you mention, I do think I remember hearing about it, like a Julian Bashir comic.
Yeah, they tried to recruit him. Did you see that? Section 31 tried to recruit Julian Bashir.
Yes, I did see that.
Yeah, so that's why there was like a pitch for him to be head of Section 31 at one point, or to do a book series or a comic book series or something like that.
Yeah.
So
I just haven't read a lot of the comics. I've only read the one published by Marvel that was like starring Nog at Starfleet Academy.
Okay. Well, the point is, anyways, like there's been rumors that they may bring back Zeta Gavriel as part of the series as the head of Section 31.
It wouldn't shock me, because contemporary Star Trek is largely going back and visiting a lot of old ideas that were never fully fleshed out.
And I mean, he and Michelle Yeoh are around the same age. And he's quite a good actor, actually. Like he's been in a lot of decent movies, and he didn't get enough to do in Game of Thrones. Like, not surprising, but he really didn't.
Yeah, I mean, once again, and he's of all of the Star Trek actors, especially for the DS9, he's probably the one with the biggest, like, the most bankable name.
He's really good looking too. Like, I can totally see.
He also aged really well. Like, he looks better now than he did then.
This is the thing. Like, I can totally see them doing a Michelle Yeoh, Zeta Gavriel like romance, like Bashir and the Emperor.
But then he won't be with Garak, or not.
He can be with Garak on the side. Like, it's fine. I think it's just an affair. Like, the Emperor wants a commitment.
Oh, how good would Garak be as like a bitter ex-husband, though?
Oh my God, that would be great. And how amused would the Emperor be? What would Philippa be like? Are you kidding me? Like, what's even happening here? I love this man. Bring him more to drink. Talk more. Bring him more to drink. He's amusing. Drink more. Yes. You were an emperor. Do tell. What was that like? Oh, I killed a lot of people. Did you? Did you kill anyone interesting?
Yeah, they're just. I mean, because they're both ultimately space fascists. So they would really bond.
I pray for.
They're both very petty.
I pray for a conversation over dinner and drinks with Empress Philippa Georgiou, Emperor Philippa Georgiou, and Garak. That would be the best thing ever.
So I'm looking around now. There's multiple Starfleet Academy comic books. So there's the one I read with Nog. There's another one that's put out by IDW. That's about like the movie cast. So like the J.J. Abrams verse about like Spock, Uhura, and Kirk being in Starfleet Academy. And it looks like that spun out into another comic called Starfleet Academy about some of their former classmates. Oh, I'm still seeing them. Maybe it's their same book. Maybe it's they just had a larger cast. Because I see Uhura, Spock, and Kirk, but I also see a bunch of other characters I've never seen before.
I don't see them using any of the comic books for a TV show.
I don't either. I'm just it's just talking about the Nog comic got me thinking about like this old comic I used to read, and then I'm like, oh hey, there's another book called Starfleet Academy. I don't foresee. I mean, I could theoretically see a Nog like Starfleet Academy spinoff in the 90s, but
not now.
Yeah.
No.
Like they'd have to recast, and that's never going to happen.
No.
I think either if we're going to get a Starfleet Academy, I think Tilly or a whole new cast that is unique to itself are the two ways we'll see it.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously that's not happening with this show. You said you can see pretty clearly where it's going with Prodigy. It's basically you're thinking into the future, search for Chakotay kind of thing.
Yeah, and then there'll be some complex because like Star Trek Prodigy had a surprisingly, given its age demographic, had a surprisingly complex plot. Like there were plot turns left and right. So I think there'll be some plot twists that'll bring Gwyn back involved in it, and like also the villainess character, I forget her name. Her and Dreadnought escape at the end. Like Dreadnought forms like an impromptu escape point around her and like shoots through the protostar, breaking its window. So like she's definitely going to be back. So I definitely think that like they're painting a pretty clear picture of where they're going.
I imagine actually the Vindicator would probably go back to Vanakat. So I wonder if she or Solemn, right? So I wonder if she would run into her. Could also
go after Chakotay. That would not be implausible.
Well, I don't know if she has the ability to go forward into the future, right? She knew it was a one-way trip, so she's probably going back to Solemn. So Gwyn might run into her there.
Oh, here's going to be an interesting comp. So if they're going into the future, they might run into adult Gwyn.
Oh.
And that could be right because the future's been changed now.
Huh. Yeah, we don't know.
And that could be, so we're talking about like sort of like, okay, you're sort of selling me on this romance plot now. That could be an interesting complexity, which is that like Dala could be like, I still have feelings for you, and she could just be like, dude, I'm 30.
Well, like, I mean, if it depends if she goes forward in time with them or not.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on a lot of things, but it doesn't sound like she will.
I think she probably will. I think they're going to, those two plots are going to converge, and she's going to have to go forward in time.
I definitely think they're going to converge. It's just will she go in the future with them, or will they converge with her being an adult?
No, I think she's going to have to go forward in time with them.
All right. We'll see.
I think something will happen, and her and the Diviner will have to go forward in time.
Do we have a release date for season 2?
No, we do. I don't believe we do yet, but I was going to mention that our next release date is February 16th for Picard.
Yep. So we're so I guess what do we want to do with Picard our month off? 3. Do we want to stop doing it? Do we want to do episodes dedicated to other things for a while? Do we want to do like a short Star Trek TTRPG stream? We have a lot of things we could do.
We'll have to see. I have to do some catch up for school as well, so it might not be the worst idea. So we'll see what we can come up with. I'm just looking to see if there's
so the 16th. So our next episode would be the 15th, and then the 29th. And then so 29th, and then the 12th would be, so we missed 3 episodes. And then we'd come back on the 26th with 2 episodes of Picard to discuss.
Okay. So, we will figure out what we can do in there. I'm not seeing if there's probably not going to be a season 2 anytime soon for this one.
This
for
has got to
Prodigy.
be super. It's got to, like, the animation quality is, because this isn't like Lower Decks. Like, Lower Decks is a pretty simple show to animate.
I mean, as far as animation goes, let's be clear.
Yeah, no, all animation is difficult, but like,
and I know you know that, but I mean, just up front, we'll just say, like, to be clear, as far as animation goes, a fairly simple show to animate. But this one is like, another level.
There's different involvements. Like, it's not
like the explosion of the protostar.
Like the only show I can think of that I've seen with this kind of, like, this isn't quite on Arcane's level of animation, but I can't really think of anything else that competes with it other than Arcane. And Arcane is half as many. In fact, Arcane's less than half. Arcane's only like 7 episodes.
Yeah, the explosion of the protostar was like stunning.
I mean, that's less complex than you'd think, because that's a particle effect. And I was not say it's not making particle effects look beautiful isn't difficult, but that's nowhere near as hard as like a lot of the facial and body animation.
The hair too, right?
Yeah.
Like, like, I'm always, that's the thing, like, in Japanese animation, when you see the title sequences and people's hair, and I'm like, my God, like, I can't even, like, so, like, Gwyn's hair moving and things like that, and the way Doll's hair is, and his little tail and everything. I'm just,
I will say, because this is so, the complexities of 3D animation, complexity of 2D animation are very different. Now, I went to an animation school, but I was in the illustration stream, not the animation stream. So I have some background here, but I'm not an expert, and I'm not an animator. I am an illustrator. But from my knowledge, the complexities of CG animation, and so, like, hair is done mathematically by the computer. You don't hand animate it like you would if you're drawing. If you're doing hair by hand, you'd be hand drawing all of that movement. With hair,
like the old school animes where you see
with hair in something like Prodigy, it's actually not that big of an issue to, I mean, getting realistic physics in an animation engine is still very difficult, but you're not like going in with, as an animator, and like hand moving all of the hair that is being simulated by a physics simulator in the animation engine. But what is very difficult to do in animation is like complex body movements. And
like the fight sequences and things like that. And like making Janeway have doll's expressions.
Yeah, all that stuff is very, very difficult to do, because you got to go through and you got to hand tweak.
Which was very impressive, like the way Janeway had Doll's facial expressions, and then Doll had Janeway's facial expressions, which, I mean, you would have to swap all of those to the different characters, right?
I might be wrong, but I don't think they're mocapping that. I don't think they're going in with actors with mocap gear.
No, I don't think so either.
I
think that's all hand animated, because it doesn't look like people. It looks like characters. Like, it doesn't look like a person. It doesn't have that weird and uncanny valley effect. It looks like animation.
Yeah. Where, like, also like the rendering quality, the texture quality, all of that is very high in the series. And just rendering that, so having the computer, so you're not, as an animator, you're not like, once you have the texture map down, the texture map's down, but the computer still has to render each frame, or render the scene, because you're not doing each frame. It's not traditional animation. You're not doing frame by frame. But either way, the computer's got to render the scene. And when you're having like a high fidelity CG animation like this show has, that takes a lot of computing power and a long fucking time.
And so, yeah, like the computers just, that's the other part that takes a long time, is you have to just sit there and you go, okay, render. All right, 20 hours. All right, cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to go get a drink. I'll come back to this later. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, like the production times on the show are bound to be astronomical.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the turnaround time on animation is, but it's not short.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, we might not see it for a while, but I'm glad we've seen what we have so far. Oh, the one thing I forgot actually, when the diviner died and he like kind of dissolved. Did you get the impression that Gwen was absorbing him when she was glowing too?
Maybe I didn't know what to make of that. I was just kind of confused.
I thought like because she was glowing and it was glowing and it was kind of like I thought she was almost absorbing that energy.
That's as good an explanation as anything I got.
Yeah, it was interesting. I'm not sure because I'm not sure what the Vaunacat glowing thing is yet.
Yeah.
Because
we don't know why he was. Because remember he spent a lot of the early season. He spent a lot of early season like in like a tank, and it was never.
Yeah, he was in an encounter suit. He still had it. I think it was because he was like his body was breaking down from the time travel.
Yeah, and I mean that was something that was established in Discovery that like if you both come from an alternate reality and a different timeline, your body just cannot handle the level of displacement, starts to break apart.
Yeah,
because we had Discovery had one guy from the J.J. Abrams universe who made it into like the mainstream universe, but also time traveled, and he was just like, "Well, I'm dead. Bye."
Which guy was that?
He wasn't a main character. It wasn't a main character. It was when it's when they tell Giorgio she has to leave.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's because otherwise you're gonna die. Yeah, right. Okay.
And that was like the one time they acknowledged the J.J. Abrams universe, which is because the guy who was the guy who demonstrated that this effect exists was from the J.J. Abrams universe, but in the TNG timeline. So like he's from the J.J. Abrams universe, but like 300 years in the future when TNG would have happened, but in that universe.
Got it. Okay.
And like I said, it was this really weird reference. You never see him. You see a hologram of him, but you never see him directly.
Okay. Cool. So, I mean, these were just like 4 really amazing episodes, I think.
Yeah.
Like they were just really wonderful.
I said I was a bit unsure. I think I was more positive than a lot of the general sentiment, but I was still a bit unsure about Prodigy. On a writing level, anyways, I was always impressed with this animation right from the start. Mm-hmm. But man, thoroughly won me over. Just genuinely loved the show by the end.
Yeah, it was really wonderful, and I just thought, I mean, it was really neatly wrapped up, sense, but at the same time, there was enough to show, like, have interesting things for next season and be like, oh, okay, we don't know what's going to happen. And, bad things happen, but good things happen too. And yeah, it was just really great. And I mean, like a lot of the stuff that I was saying, oh, there was darker stuff, it was a complex plot that we were talking about. I think this is just a sense of giving kids credit. Like a lot of shows don't give kids credit for being as smart as they are or being able to handle the things that they can. And I think that's a nice change that the show is actually like kids can handle stuff and kids are smarter than we give them credit for.
Mm-hmm. It's another thing that why I compare it to Avatar, because Avatar was also very much like that.
Yeah. And I mean,
Avatar got into themes of colonialism and genocide and like that you never see in kids material.
Yeah, and it's like we don't need to dumb this down. Yeah. We just need to communicate it in language that kids are going to understand.
Yeah.
And I've seen people say that their kids like understood the science stuff and understood what people were talking about and whatever. And like that's the important thing is it's communicated in a way that is understandable and keeps kids entertained and gets them excited about whatever people are talking about, that's great. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the most important thing. And I think it's really relatable. It's relatable to kids, but I think it's relatable to everybody. Like,
Yeah. Like I said, especially this last block. So Prodigy got released in 3 separate blocks. This last block has been universally amazing. Like, it's just been really, really solid.
Yeah, and I think it was nice to have even that conversation between the Janeways at the end. Like, they're like, yeah, here's something for the parents, like here's your younger self and your older self talking about mistakes you've made and like how you can make them better and how you can do a better job. Because like sometimes as a parent, you're like, look at a situation and you've messed it up and you're like, I could have done better. And it's like, well, you can do better now. So get out there and let's like fix the situation we've messed up. Right. And it's like, as adults, sometimes you have to go, you know what, I screwed it up, or kids involved. Let's make it better for these kids. Right. And like all of Starfleet as it happens. But it was like a nice little pep talk for her to give to herself. And I thought that was great. Sometimes you got to go, you know what, we can do this, we can handle it. So I thought it was great. It's just a really nice, like I said, if all Star Trek shows could be like half as satisfying as that ending, could wrap up in half as satisfying way, I would be super happy.
I hate saying it, but man, Picard could learn something from this fucking show.
I don't hate saying it. I think they all could. Even Lower Decks, like Discovery, they all could. I mean, I don't have a lot to complain about with Discovery's finale, but I think they all could learn something from this show.
I think Picard especially, because Picard is kind of a mess the whole way through. And
Picard especially, yeah.
This shows a similar level of complexity in storytelling that Picard is trying and failing to do.
And it really shows, it shows the same sort of interest in doing things with past characters, calling back to old events.
Well, and it's also a time travel plot, like Picard season 2 was.
We'll see how they do. Well, no, it is a time travel plot. They have time traveling characters, so yeah, it is totally like they're doing that. And I mean, it's easier with characters that are new characters, but like it is a time travel plot, 100%. So, I mean, we'll see how they're doing it. I mean, there are some things that are made easier with animation, but not everything.
I am hyped for Picard season 3, even if I hated 1 and 2. Just the prospect of getting everyone back together is enough.
Like, I mean, yeah, I know. Like, I mean, I feel like we're gonna hate it. Even if we hate it, we're just gonna be like, look, everybody's in the same ship. Yeah. Look at, damn it.
Yeah. Like, just, so that's going to be the thing. Is it's going to be like, even if it's bad, the nostalgia, like, I'm generally pretty immune to nostalgia. This one's going to get me, for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to see how it goes, but yeah, I feel like I'm just going to be like, they're all on the ship. Look at that. It's so nice. It's freaking...
But damn it, because like it does mean that like a bunch of the Picard original characters are going to get pushed aside, and like those are a lot of characters I think have a lot of potential, and I think they just deserved a better show than they got. And I don't know, maybe we'll get a Picard spinoff that keeps those characters going and maybe does them a bit more justice. Or maybe Picard season 3 will be great. Like TNG was shit for the first 2 seasons, then became really good in season 3.
I mean, it's possible. Who knows?
Although I think TNG season 2 is better than Picard season 2. So,
what's it? Picard season 3 is a continuation of Voyager and DS9 as well.
That's I think I talked a little bit about that last time together.
It's just a continuation of everything, apparently.
Which I think is bad. I think because the problem Picard has is it lacks focus. That's his biggest problem. And I think being like, we're going to continue all Star Trek is a bad way to go. Pick one, probably TNG, because Picard, and continue that.
Yeah, I mean, they have Prodigy to continue Voyager.
Yeah.
Like, why do they not, like, they're obviously continuing the Voyager story on Prodigy.
And
Like,
and I mean, Seven being on Picard is dope, and like you can continue her arc, but you don't need to continue all of Voyager. You just continue her arc. And
yeah,
like,
Seven is fine. Like, we don't need
and
anybody
she
but Seven.
and she works on Picard because both her and Picard were former Borgs, and that's the continuation of their shared arc.
Yeah, totally.
But
Yeah.
you don't need to tie all of the rest of Star Trek in. And like I said, I still think that the thing at the end of season 1 of Picard is fucking the machines from season 2 of Discovery. I still think that. Even if they have not walked it back. It makes the most fucking sense.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta wonder.
Control.
Yeah, you gotta wonder. And the living construct looks a lot like Control too.
Yeah.
So they all look the same.
I don't think, like, Star Trek seems to want to keep its shows compartmentalized. So I don't think they're going to be directly connected, but that's the connection if you want to do it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know. I'm gonna miss this show. I think I'm really gonna miss it when Picard's on too, because I'm gonna be like, I just feel like there's gonna be points where I'm gonna be like, Prodigy did this better. And it's really funny. And I maybe there's something about like keeping things not simple, but like really stripped down in terms of like how much is going on. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd really like to, maybe we should just like really think about analyzing like what made this season really good at some point.
It was focused. It knew.
Yeah.
It, like, once again, like, Picard's all over the place. I mean, this I think is also why Discovery gets better in later seasons, because it also sort of finds its focus.
And it has themes, like in big ways.
Whereas Strange New Worlds can afford to be a little all over the place because it's episodic, so you only need to have your focus episode per episode.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like, Strange New Worlds is actually really cheap to make. It's only it only runs about $1 million an episode, which for contemporary TV is cheap as shit.
Yeah. No, I'm surprised, but I guess it's up here too. So,
well, the reason why it runs so cheap for two reasons. One, it's just using Discovery sets. Like, all the sets are just Discovery sets redecorated.
Oh, right.
And two, they're like, we're just going to use Casa Loma and then CG it to make it look like an alien planet.
Yeah, exactly. Or we're just using York.
Yeah,
like York has showed up like 3 times in so far in.
Like, or we're using Ontario Place. Like, it's for those who don't know us, we're both from Toronto, which is where Strange New Worlds is shot. So we're always like I get that reference beam.
My school is in both Stranger Worlds and like freaking Handmaid's Tale all the time.
Yeah. So, but because they're just using real places that are cheap to rent
and look sci-fi
enough, and then they just add some mid-level CGI to sci-fi them up. They get away with a really low budget on that show compared to Discovery. So Strange New Worlds really hits above its weight class.
Yeah. Well,
this also drives up the cost of Picard, because Picard is shot in LA because Patrick Stewart refused to leave LA.
Understandably.
So they have to build all the new sets. Which drives up the costs on Picard. That's probably a big reason why season 2 was a time travel story.
To make it a bit cheaper.
Yeah, so they didn't have to rebuild all the sets; they could just use LA.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, I think I'm really looking forward to the next season of this. I think I'm going to miss the show a lot.
Who knows when we'll see it? Like I said, this is not an easy or cheap show to animate.
I think I'm going to have to honestly rewatch it at some point. Just because like so much of it is so much fun. The characters are a lot of fun. They're really wonderful. And yeah, it's just beautiful and really smart in a lot of ways. And like you said, like Avatar, it really doesn't dumb anything down for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the great part about it. I hope it gets like a lot of people excited about science and space and, you know, watching Star Trek, and, you know, that would be really great to see kids watch old TNG episodes and Voyager episodes, watching Voyager episodes because they love Janeway. That would be really cool.
Well, I mean, like, I used to watch TOS back when I was a little kid, and it was 30 years out of date. So,
I mean, if I was a kid watching this and I was like, I think Janeway is cool, I would totally watch like Voyager and be like, yeah, I'm gonna watch Janeway and see what she was like when she was in the Delta Quadrant, you know, and that would be fun. And Neelix is fun. Kids will like Neelix, and there are lots of little
underappreciated character. I actually really like Neelix. I think
Neelix is really good. He really is underappreciated because like he's feeding everyone and he's always in a good mood, and like that ship really needs people who are like, you know, in a good mood and happy.
And a lot of it, and like a lot of what makes him annoying is just the show trying to convey his PTSD. He has serious PTSD, and so like a lot of people don't like him. It's just like, dude's fucking traumatized, man. He's basically a war orphan.
And you know what's interesting is like those characters in Prodigy are a lot like come from a similar background as Neelix, and I think Janeway really gets that too.
So I got my issues with Voyager. I do need to go finish it. I started watching it. I think it's gone from Netflix now, but I have I'm going to be probably canceling my Netflix in the near future because of the password.
It's probably gone anyways. From Netflix. It's probably on. It's not even on. It's on Crave. It's
I just had to figure out where I left off.
The weird thing is, it's not even on Paramount here. Like, we can't even get stuff on Paramount. Like Star Trek stuff.
Bell pulled some fucking strings to keep. It's like tight rein on Star Trek.
Yeah, just some magic. I don't know what.
I wonder if some of this has to do with. So we have an amusement park called Wonderland.
Oh, and it used to be Paramount Canada.
Paramount used to own it, and so you used to go to Wonderland. You'd like see people like full Star Trek costume. Like you'd have like Klingons walking around.
Totally.
If you brought like a prop batleth, you could have like a batleth battle with a random Klingon.
Yeah, you could totally talk to Bajorans and stuff like that. Yeah.
So now I'm wondering if that has something to do with why Bell Canada has such a tight grip on Star Trek.
Have to look at who owns Wonderland.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, Wonderland doesn't have the Star Trek license anymore.
No, I don't know. I'm really curious. I know. I can ask somebody. Gary can ask somebody who might know.
Well, we can just Google Wonderland, and that should tell us.
Oh no! I mean about the rights.
Oh, about the rights. Yeah, Gary would be the person to know about that. Gary's boss used to work for Crave, basically. Okay. And so Gary's boss may have some inside information on that. Who knows? But I'd be really curious because, it seems like they have some 100-year contract or something ridiculous like that. Like, I don't even know how they got that locked down, but it's the weirdest thing in the world. I mean, you know, if I cancel my Netflix, getting Paramount might not be a terrible idea.
There's not a lot on it, let me tell you right now. No, we have a free 3 months just because we got McDonald's, whatever. And
Stars. I should get Stars.
Oh, Stars is with Disney Plus. Oh, Stars with Prime. Right.
Yeah, not Stars with Prime is what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Because then I can get Shudder.
Confusing. I hate all this streaming. It's like I was actually listening to We're gonna wrap this up in a minute, but I'm just gonna say we had I listened to a podcast. It's called The Watch. It's Andrew Greenwald and oh my god, I can't remember everybody's name. I'm so sorry, guys, because I listen to you all the time and no one's really paying attention. But I'm gonna get this right because I will feel really, really bad if I don't say it. Chris Ryan and Andy Greenwald. Okay. So I listened to this and they talk a lot about stuff, and they were talking about how streaming is broken. And basically they were talking about how, like, basically we got out of this, like, we got streaming, because streaming was supposed to solve our problem of cable, because we were going to only pay like one person to stream all the movies and everything we wanted, and they were going to be there forever. And now everything's disappearing, and now it's just like cable, where now we have freebie like Pluto and whatever, where we got to watch commercials again to watch something on streaming. And there are commercials on the streaming you pay for, and you've got to pay for 50,000 streaming things. And it's like,
well, what? And like this is, and I already pay I'm paying like $23 a month for Netflix, and then they wanted to tell me, so I'm already paying like twice as much I am for any other streaming services we have, and then they want to tell me I can't give my mom my password either. Like, fuck off. So I'm just going to cancel it. I'm just pissed off.
It's getting ridiculous, and I'm just like, I don't even understand. And I still have I have a cheap cable too, because
we have free cable through the building. It's somehow in my building negotiation with Rogers where
there's a lot of them that do that. But like, I'm just like, I don't even understand. This was supposed to make life easier and everything, and now it's just like, oh, we're just gonna add on things, and now there's Fast, right?
Back to piracy.
Fast.
Back to piracy. Like,
I never stopped. So, but Fast is like free ad-supported TV. So it's basically Pluto TV. You see the ads for that, and other things like that. But free ad-supported TV is streaming with commercials. So it's cable.
Yeah, I stopped pirating for a long time because it was like I had enough streaming services. I was like, I don't need to pirate because like I got all this entertainment right in front of me. I don't need to go through the effort. It's just easier not to pirate. I pay whatever. But now it's getting so complex. Like to Hellraiser. The new Hellraiser's not in Canada yet. It's on Disney Plus, or it's on Hulu in the US. It hasn't been released in Canada. It probably will eventually be released by Disney Plus at some point.
Yeah, they didn't release The Bear in Canada for like a month after it was released in the US.
Hellraiser's been out for since Halloween. It's only out here.
Yeah, The Bear is just a series that was on Hulu. It's got Jeremy Allen White from Shameless. It's about a restaurant, working in a restaurant. It's really good. So it's on Disney Plus, and they delayed it for like a month.
Well, like I said, Hellraiser has been delayed for 2 months so far, with no sign of it releasing yet. So who knows when it's going to come to Canada? So I'm going to end up pirating it just because they haven't given me another choice. Because streaming is just broken. It used to be the easier way to do it. Now it's going back to piracy being easier. I will pay a corporation money if it's easier to pay them money. This isn't even like I'm an anarchist, anti-capitalist principled thing. Just make it easy for me. Yeah,
well, Westworld's gone, eh?
There's a whole everything going on with. Is it gone from Crave too? Because
I don't think it's gone from Crave. But I think most of those series that are gone on of HBO Max are still on Crave, which is nice.
So what's happening with HBO Max is that basically the new CEO, who is an awful human being who should not be allowed anywhere near any power, has decided he doesn't want to pay the royalties to a lot of his shows, so he's just dropping them.
But they're repackaging them for Fast. They're repackaging them for free ad-supported TV. They just want to sell them to somebody else. They don't want to.
That's the thing.
They don't want to pay the licensing to keep them on HBO Max. They'll repackage them and sell them elsewhere.
They want to be paid, so they want to license this stuff out, and they're going to keep HBO Plus around for a handful of premium shows, and mostly it's going to be reality TV. Basically, they're restructuring the whole company to be an IP farm.
Yeah, they got rid, which is weird. They got rid of Fuckboy Island though, which is a reality show. So
I don't know. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe the production cost was too high for what they thought it was worth.
Well, they just got rid of the reruns. So I mean, I think they just want to repackage it and sell the.
Yeah, I mean, well, they're clearly going to an IP farm. That's clearly their primary goal. I think HBO Max makes too much money for them to scrap entirely. but I think they're going to pare it down. I mean, not. I don't think they are paring it down significantly.
It's just bizarre. That's like, it's just like, I understand to a certain extent, like there's so much content that, but like, just
like
things
way,
just disappear.
If you so if you want to keep me from pirating, it's very simple. Like, I'm an anti-capitalist, but that's not my main motive in this situation. My main motive is ease of use.
Yes, that's most people's main motive.
Make things available and easy to get to. I will pay you money for that service. Happily. I have been paying you money. Don't be a pain in my ass, and I will continue to give you money. You have now been a pain in my ass, so I am now canceling my streaming services.
And I think we'll see more and more of
that. We're probably going to keep Crave. Crave is actually a pretty easy use service. So I will keep Crave around. But Crave, I might pare it down to only Crave. Although I do kind of want Shudder. So I may. I mean, Shudder is independently run. So.
Yeah, I think we're going to see more people canceling because it's just the bloat is getting ridiculous.
Right. It's getting too expensive. There's too many services. And piracy is just easier.
Well, I mean, if you know how to do it, some people don't know. So it's just an art that people are going to have to learn.
It's very easy. You find a website that hosts pirated material. You find the material on that website you want to watch, and then you watch that material.
Or you find a way to download torrents.
Or you. Well, I use a browser called Opera. I am not sponsored by Opera in any way, shape, or form. This is not a monetization thing. I use a browser called Opera. Opera has a built-in torrent downloader. So you can just download Opera as your main browser and then go to Pirate Bay or some other pirating website and download the torrent that way.
Yes, that's very useful as well. A built-in torrent downloader. Very useful. In any case, we're not advocating torrenting the show, which is mostly easily available in Canada, as you can watch it on the Sci-Fi Network, Sci-Fi Channel.
Yeah, so that's another thing is Star Trek, for some reason, unlike everywhere else in the world, still airs on cable.
Yes, so you can watch it on cable in Canada and also on the CTV app in Canada. So you can get it for free in Canada.
Star Trek airs on. Oh, I guess that makes sense because so I don't even need Crave. I'm going to keep Crave because it has Letterkenny, but I don't even need Crave to watch New Trek, eh?
No, as long as you subscribe, like you need to subscribe to those cable channels. But if you have those cable channels, you can log into the app.
I do. So
there you go.
I've been just using Crave because
Crave is easier. It's better. It doesn't have commercials. All of the apps have commercials.
That's why I don't use the CTV app very often. I do have it on my phone, on my TV, but I just
they do, but they don't have commercials yet. That's
interesting because when I did use the CTV app, Discovery wasn't on it. Now that was back when Discovery was the only Star Trek show. So
they might all be on it. I think you can watch it. Like I don't know if they keep all of the episodes, but the day after they usually have them on there.
That's like because I use this is how I watch Rick and Morty actually. Rick and Morty just has random odd episodes and then the latest season.
Okay, cool. All right, well. That's been a long podcast. Well,
yeah, we're usually only an hour and a half, so we've gone twice as long as we usually go.
Yeah, we've gone twice as long, but we had some long episodes. Thank you for listening to us ramble. Thank you, Aaron, again for stopping by. You're probably gone, but much appreciated for stopping by for a period of time, checking in and answering our questions, which were very important questions. Actually, you stopped by and answered the most important, well, maybe not the most important questions of the question we were having the least clarity on in terms of what
the status of
the Protostar crew and
Protostar crew is,
yeah. So now we're clarified. We know that they're in a special training program to become non-commissioned warrant officers. They're on the O'Brien track, which is pretty good because O'Brien has a big statue in his honor in Lower Decks time. So, I mean, how bad can it be to be in training to be O'Brien? We'll just call it the O'Brien program from now on.
All right.
The O'Brien program for non-commissioned officers. In any case, this was freaking dope. This was a great show.
Yeah, thoroughly loved it. Like, if you haven't watched the whole thing, I really liked the first episode. I really liked the first story arc with the escape from the slave mines.
Yeah, escape from Tars Lamora.
Yeah, a bit of a quality dip after that, in my opinion. But if you stick with it for a couple episodes past that, it gets so fucking good again.
I think it just takes some time to, after the escape, they just take some time to get to know each other, and establish kind of the dynamic of the crew. Yeah. And then after that, like once they work out some of their problems and get to know each other a little bit better and trust Gwyn after the initial escape, then things really start to pick up when they gel as a group.
And like the third of the 3 blocks, because they is just really good the whole way through.
It really ticks along.
Not a bad episode among them.
It really ticks along. I think the only thing that you said is maybe that flashback episode could have been a little earlier on in things.
That's why I want to complain. It's not a bad episode. It just happens too late in the series. It should have happened earlier.
And maybe if it had happened earlier, it would have like established some of those things like that were, causing issues and, slowness earlier on. Yeah. But I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to season 2, maybe not as much as like more than Picard season 3, maybe, but we're going to be back for that soon. Green and I will work out what we'll be doing in the upcoming episodes. Maybe the very next one will probably take off.
We should do a 2-part TTRPG with me ST, and we should get Aaron in on it.
Oh, for sure. You should totally ask. Gary would probably be up for that too. And we should probably the 15th, I'll probably take that off because I know I have something that I need to catch up on then. But after that, we totally have lots of time to be role playing, lots of time to talk to people. If they're happy to come on, we're happy to talk to them. So we'll see you in probably about a month. If not sooner, we'll work something out and we'll keep you updated on what we're going to do. But thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for being here throughout the season of Prodigy, which was like, just like, I feel really happy we saw this season. Like, we've been through, oh my God, we've been through a lot of like new seasons of Star Trek now, like 3 seasons of Lower Decks, 1 season of Prodigy,
We've been doing this, like, it doesn't feel like it, but we've been doing this for years.
3 years now, I think. Like, so we
started when COVID hit.
I know. So
I think we started a little bit before COVID.
I think so. So we've been through like, oh my God, a new season of Strange New Worlds, a full season of Prodigy, 3 seasons of Lower Decks, 2 seasons of Picard.
And 2 seasons Discovery.
2 seasons of Discovery. And we watched all the other previous seasons of Discovery and talked about those too, just not on camera. So I mean, oh my God, so much Star Trek.
Because we didn't watch the first. We didn't do the first season of Picard. We only did the second.
Did we only do season 2?
I remember this because remember you picked me up because I was live tweeting every episode of Picard. That was right before. So this was after we did start after COVID started because I was still going to Seascape to watch Picard at the bar.
But you could have been watching it. We could have talked about it. We'll have to see. I feel like we did.
I remember live tweeting. I remember I was live tweeting all my reactions to every plot.
Yeah, you live tweeted them, but then you were like, I don't know what I want to live tweet, and I don't know what I want to talk about. Yeah. So I remember us talking about that because I think we did season 1.
Did we do season 1? Oh, maybe we did. Maybe I just live tweeted the first episode then.
You live tweeted some of them, but I remember you were like, I don't know what I should live tweet and what I should save to talk about.
Right. Okay. So we probably started this during the first season of Picard then. So we probably didn't do. So yes, you're right. This is what happened. I live tweeted the first like 2 or 3 episodes. Then we started doing this. Then I stopped doing the live tweets.
Yeah. So,
and then COVID hit. COVID hit mid Picard.
Yeah. And that's why we stayed home and watched First Contact.
That's why COVID hit mid Picard, and that's why I stopped going to Seascape to watch episodes there.
Yeah, and then we did the New Year's Eve First Contact that one time, which was highly illegal, but very fun.
You can't watch those. They once again make it easy. We'll follow the law.
Yeah, exactly. You can't watch a movie.
Cannot get that movie legally in Canada.
And you can't stream a movie. It's terrible. We tried to do it legally and it was terrible. You can't buy it on Amazon and stream it. We tried. And so we had to do it illegally. We had to because the people wanted First Contact. The people wanted First Contact.
It's the one good TNG movie.
People wanted, Cromwell drinking and swearing. Who doesn't want that? Everybody wants bad rock music.
All right, we said we were signing off.
We gotta stop it anyway. Yeah, we gotta stop it. Thank you to everyone on Prodigy for a great season. It was just
fantastic.
Oh, just so beautiful.
Third quarter was
beautiful.
Perfect.
Oh, just beautiful, amazing last few episodes. I can't even say enough. I cried at points. Let's be real, but it doesn't take much for me to cry. But I really did. Really wonderful. Thank you again, Aaron, for coming in and chatting. If you want to come by and chat with us or play some Star Trek TTRPG, Green is here to run it for us. And we'll probably be back in about a month's time because I got a crap load of papers to write. Let me tell you. And Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Happy Prodigy. And see you soon for some gaming, some Star Trek talk, and some Picard soon. Oh, my Lord. It's reunion time.
So Picard soon. Then after Picard, it's back to Discovery, and then it's Lower Decks. And then, then it's Strange New Worlds, then Lower Decks. We still got a lot of Star Trek to watch.
I'm just gonna miss Prodigy right now. I'm just missing Prodigy. Prodigy is in my heart right now.
I don't know what the turnaround time on production on the animation end of Prodigy is, but it is definitely not a short production time. They cannot they cannot turn around a season of Prodigy in a year like they can with Lower Decks. There's no way.
Fingers crossed. Well, remember, till next time. Teamwork makes the dream work, y'all. That was the greatest. All right.
Although, actually, we might see it earlier than we think, because keep in mind they release them if they release them in 3 blocks, they don't have to wait for the whole series to be done. But by the time when they start releasing it,
so maybe same time as last year, maybe summer 2023.
Yeah, it's very possible.
All right, let's hope for it. Janeway finger guns.
All right.
Out. See you guys later. Have a good one.
Cheers.
Cheers. Love you all. Happy 2023, everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.